Hello, this is a guy who likes fanfiction and is too lazy to read, so here is Heir of the Uzumaki in audio form. Check the description for the links to the author. Chapter 21, Protecting Those Important. What's going on? Naruto shouted as a large pillar of debris shot up into the sky in the distance. Orochimaru and Kusa are attacking the village. Genma shouted just as black blurs began to fly into the arena. Naruto swore as he saw Oto ninja and Kusa ninja all over the field and the wall of the arena. There was also some inside the stands where civilians were in shock, but Konoha ninja were already fighting them off, and Naruto saw a few dead bodies rolling down steps. He turned his attention to the silver-haired Jonin and his uncle. "Too bad, I was looking forward to seeing you get your ass kicked," he said with a small frown. "You little dash," Kakashi began, but he was cut off when a group of Umbu landed in the middle of the ring by them. There were 4 and they each wore a different mask. The leader of the group had a wolf mask on, and it was he who spoke. "Kakashi-san, Hokage-sama has ordered all available Jonin to guard the civilians in the stands. He needs your abilities to help exterminate any enemy who tries to harm a Konoha civilian," the man said, and then turned to Naruto. "Naruto-san, you are to help the village hide the package that Orochimaru wants most. The Hokage has decided that you have the capabilities to lead your own squad, so you are to take Harino Sakura, Yamanaka Ino, Nara Shikimaru, and move Uchiha Sasuke to safer quarters. Once done, you must protect him from the enemy," the man said, and then turned to look at his squad and nodded before they all disappeared in a large black shunshin. "Damn it! I need to be here, I have some business to settle with that damn snake," Naruto grunted as he turned to Zabuza. "Hey Zabuza-sensei, think you and Haku can fight here while I take out the trash?" Naruto asked. "What do you mean?" Zabuza asked as Naruto looked at Sasuke. "I'm going to move him to a safer location and then I'll be back to finish the battle up," Naruto said and looked to the stands. "First I have to get my team together though, so be careful, and also, Kakashi, go suck one," Naruto said before disappearing in a vortex of water. "Momoichi Zabuza, you are hereby under arrest." Kakashi began but was cut off when Zabuza slashed at his face, making a small cut in his mask. "Shut it before I disregard my nephew's wishes and gut you like the damn coward you are," Zabuza said before Haku grabbed his shoulder and they disappeared in a cloud of ice mist. Naruto reappeared right in front of Sakura just as an enemy was flying at her. She was shocked by his sudden appearance, but what shocked her more was when she looked at the enemy and found him impaled upon Naruto's sword. She watched as the blonde turned and threw the body to the ground before holding his sword out in a ready position. "Come on, the Hokage ordered me to get a squad ready to get Sasuke faggot out of here," he said, and Sakura ignored the rude name he called her, beloved. "Who else is going to be on our team?" Sakura asked, and Naruto pointed at Ino, who was about 10 feet away. "Ino and Shikimaru, where the hell is that shithead?" Naruto asked Sakura, and she shrugged and squinted at Ino. "There, he's out cold, maybe he's injured," she said with some worry. "No," Naruto muttered, and the duo walked towards the blonde girl and the Nara. Naruto got close and Ino looked up with a gasp and was about to speak, but Sakura beat her to it. "What's wrong with him?" the pink-haired girl asked Ino. "I don't know. He just slumped over suddenly when the evasion started," the blonde ninja said, and Naruto snorted. "There wasn't a genjutsu placed, but just to make sure," Naruto muttered and brought his foot back. "Wake up, asshole, and stop faking it," Naruto screamed as he slammed his foot into Shikamaru's side. "Jesus!" Shikimaru cried as he was sent skidding down the row of chairs. "Take it easy, how troublesome," he muttered, and Naruto shook his head. "Lazy-ass bastard. Hokage ordered me to get this team together, we gotta get the sack of shit out of the village so the pedophile doesn't shit-nap him," Naruto said, and Ino giggled at what Naruto said about Sasuke. "Sounds too complicated," Shikimaru said, and Naruto sighed. "Oh well, stop crying, we gotta get a move on now," Naruto said as he sensed a large group of enemy ninja approaching them. He reached out and grabbed Sakura by the front of her shirt, which made her blush because he accidentally grabbed her chest in the process. He grabbed Ino by her shoulder barely, and he brought his foot up into Shikamaru's crotch, making the boy wheeze out as his unborn children were sent back into oblivion. They all disappeared in a large hurricane of water just as a group of 15 Oto ninja broke through the wall next to them. They reappeared back in the field where Genma was fighting against 4 Kusan ninja and seemed as though he was being overwhelmed. Naruto quickly released the blushing Sakura and the shocked Ino and unsheathed his sword and jumped at the fellow Konoha ninja. He landed next to him and in one swift movement beheaded a Kusan ninja that had lashed out at him with a kunao. Naruto lunged forward and lodged his sword into the gut of another ninja and turned and brought it up in a arc and then did another quick 180 and brought it down onto the head of another ninja. The first ninja was cut in half from the waist up while the second ninja was cleaved perfectly in half. Naruto cursed as the last ninja suddenly appeared before him and stabbed down with a kunao. Naruto wouldn't be able to bring his sword up in time to block the blow since it was buried in the ground rather deep. He closed his eyes and got ready to try and dodge the stab, but before it hit him he sensed the man stop moving suddenly. He looked up and saw the man standing above him, his kunao hovering mere inches from his face. He turned and saw Shikamaru crouch over painfully with his shadow elongated so that it was trapping the Kusan ninja. "Take this!" He heard both Sakura and Ino scream suddenly. He ducked quickly as they flew over him and both of their feet smashed into the Kusan ninja's face, sending him rolling backwards. Naruto breathed a sigh of relief and nodded at each of his squad members. "Thanks kid, they almost had me there," Genma said as he clapped Naruto on the back. "Okay, well we gotta move out and fulfill Hokage's wishes, so peace," Naruto said as he ran over to Sasuke's motionless body. He sneered at it and grabbed the boy painfully by the front of his shirt and threw him into the air. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. A clone suddenly appeared in the air and caught Sasuke bridal style, and as it fell back to the ground it flung him and around so that the unconscious boy was on his back. Naruto looked over at Gaara then and sighed sadly. He walked over to the red-haired boy and kneeled down in front of him and laid a hand on his forehead. "At least you can finally rest in peace, Gaara," Naruto said and stood to his feet again. "Let's go," he ordered, and his comrades nodded and they took off running, making a diamond shape around the clone that carried Sasuke. Naruto led the diamond while Shikamaru brought up the rear. The two girls took either side of it and they made their way out of the arena. They ran through the streets where rubble was scattered around uselessly, and so were bodies of both armies. Naruto ignored the deaths and kept on running so that he could get back to Konoha and fight the Dem Snake. He grunted when a group of Otonin suddenly stepped out from around a building, blocking off the way out of the alley they were in. "Fall back, let me take care of this quick," Naruto said and ran through some hand seals. "Suton, Suso Uchiko Wasu," Naruto shouted as a small ball of water no bigger than a basketball formed quickly in his hands. He launched them straight out in front of him, sending a large drill of water whirling at the group of enemies. In the group there were 6 ninja. After the attack there was only one and he was no in any condition to fight. "Move it, bitch," Naruto said as he jumped into the air and brought his foot down on the man's head, knocking him immediately and slamming him into the ground. "Let's go," he shouted, and the 3 ninja behind him nodded and began to run again. "Naruto, where are we going?" Sakura asked as they ran through the forest in a direction she had never gone. "A spot where Teiwa took me for a date," Naruto said as thoughts of the pink-haired girl started to rise up in his head suddenly. "Where is she? Is she okay?" he wondered before shaking his head to clear the thoughts. "Oh, okay," Sakura said as they continued to run. "Okay, we're going to stop here for a quick break," Naruto suddenly said as they stopped on top of a large tree and everyone slowly sank to the ground happily to rest their sore legs. They had been running at extreme speeds for about an hour now, and that was taxing on the girls since they had smaller chakra reserves, Shikamaru because he had already fought in the exams, and especially Naruto because he won the exams. Naruto leaned against a tree while Ino was standing next to Shikamaru muttering to him. His clone was still standing with Sasuke on his back and was just waiting for further order. Naruto closed his eyes and put his head back against a tree and sighed. "Damn, this sucks," he muttered. As he immersed himself within his thoughts he felt a sudden tap on his shoulder and he opened his eyes. Sakura was kneeling in front of him and she was pushing her index fingers together nervously. "What?" Naruto asked and she sighed. "Naruto, she said and threw herself against him and gave him a huge hug. "You little dash," Ino began as she saw the scene, but Shikamaru grabbed her and whispered in her ear. "Stop, you know how crappy their teamwork is, this is a giant step, no leap forward for her." he muttered, and Ino looked at him with anger before realization dawned on her. She's actually forging a friendship with him, finally. She muttered and smiled. Naruto, I'm so sorry for the way I've treated you in the past. Sakura said as she buried her face in his shoulder. Naruto could only make a weird noise. He was okay with girls hanging on him, but he was completely shocked at what was happening. It was so unexpected that he could give a straight answer. I know that I've put Sasuke on some kind of pedestal, but, after today I know that I have been blinded by some minor crush. She said and pulled away from Naruto and looked at him with tears on her face. Okay. Naruto replied, completely dumbfounded. After I saw Sasuke stab Gaara in the chest, I took a look at our past as a team, and even though it has been short and crappy, I've realized that Sasuke hasn't saved my life even once. Every time I'm in danger, it's you who saves me, everyone for that matter. She said, wiping away her tears with her right hand. Sakura, it's fine. Naruto tried to say, this whole situation was just too weird for him. No, it's not. I've followed Sasuke around like a blind puppy thinking that he was an almighty god when really, you're stronger than him. I don't even think Sasuke has feelings for me despite our relationship. Naruto, now that I think about it, I'm really starting to realize a simple truth, and it took Iruka and several others to point it out to me. Naruto, you're a awesome guy. She said and smiled. Maybe after this is all over we can go out and get some ramen and, actually make a connection, not just as teammates and for our team's sake but for us, just so we can be friends. Sakura asked, and Naruto stared at her in utter shock. She blushed from his look and looked away at the tree when he didn't say anything. I know I've treated you like crap. I don't blame you for not wanting to try and make a friendship with me now. I was just dash. Sakura, that'd be cool. It'd be nice to be friends with at least one person on my team. Naruto said and put a hand on her shoulder. I'm sorry for how I've treated you also. He said, and she nodded with a grin. It's okay, I deserved it. She said, and Naruto chuckled, letting his old personality fall back into place instead of his cold and hard one he had developed for missions. Now that we took a break, let's get going. My clone has had enough of holding that sack of shit. Naruto said, and that earned laughter from all three of the ninja in the clearing and also his clone. They all stood and remade their formation and began to move again. Are we almost there yet? Ino asked tiredly as she did a front hand spring off the tree branch under her. Yeah, in fact it should be just up here. Naruto said, and sure enough, as they left the forest, the giant lake with the large water slide made from rock appeared before them. Whoa, this is gorgeous. Sakura said as she took in the scene. That girl sure can pick a good spot for a date. Shikamaru said as he walked towards the small pond. Yeah, she can. Naruto said and looked at his clone. Put him down over there. He muttered, and the clone nodded and set him down where Naruto had pointed to. As soon as the clone stood up, it disappeared in a small cloud of smoke, and Naruto sat down with a sigh. So now what? Sakura asked Naruto, and he shrugged. Well, we have to wait. I'm going to go back to Konoha, but I have to catch my breath for a second. Today has exhausted me. He said, and the pink-haired girl nodded. Hey Naruto K-. Naruto? Ino asked, and Naruto noted her abrupt ending of her adding kun to his name. Yeah, Ino. He asked as he looked at her. I was just wondering, where did Teiwa go? I mean, wasn't she part of Oto? Ino asked, and Naruto stared at her before a lot of gears started to click inside his head. Fuck. Shikamaru, get Sasuke, we have to move now. Naruto yelled. I can't believe it, she was a spy, he thought in anger. Why, what is it? He asked in concern, becoming completely serious. Teiwa, Otonin, enemy. Who showed me this spot? Naruto asked, and Shikamaru cursed under his breath as he ran over to Sasuke and grabbed his shoulder. We gotta go now. Naruto yelled. Too late. A familiar female voice said. Naruto noted the small hint of sadness in it, but besides that it was completely emotionless. Teiwa. He said as he reverted back to his cold and battle-ready self. So you were an enemy all along? Naruto muttered as he looked into her green emerald eyes. Yeah. Orochimaru assigned me to watch you. Teiwaya said sadly as she reached into her back pocket and pulled out a battle flute. I wish I didn't have to do this, she said, and Naruto snorted. Then don't, leave Oto and come to Konoha, Naruto said, and Teiwaya shook her head. It's too late, she said, and pulled her shirt down to reveal a mark somewhat similar to Sasuke's. He's marked me. I'm his slave, she said, and Naruto stared at her in shock. But, I should have seen it, he exclaimed, and she shook her head. A simple yet very complex henge that Orochimaru put on me, she said, and brought the flute up to her lips. Let's finish this quickly, Naruto, she said, and blew softly into the flute. Naruto, Sakura said, and stepped in front of him. Don't worry about it, Ino said as she stood next to Sakura. We got it, they both said together and ran at Teiwaya. Naruto watched his teammates run at Teiwaya, and he shook his head in anger and turned to Shikamaru. Let's go, they can handle things here, Naruto said, and Shikamaru nodded as he hefted Sasuke onto his shoulders. Oh no, we can't have that now, can we? A voice suddenly said from the pond, and Naruto stopped dead in his tracks. Shikamaru, run, he said as he felt the killer chakra radiating from the small pond. Only one thing can radiate that kind of chakra, a Jinchuriki, Naruto thought. Bingo, kid. I recognize this chakra, it's the Gobi no Wani, the five-tailed alligator. Natural affinity is water. Pretty laid back, but when battle comes he gets worked up and has an extreme sense of bloodlust. That's all I know though. As for his host, I have no idea what he's packing. Be careful. I don't wanna die yet, Kyubi said from within the blonde's mind. So what you're saying is that I'm all but screwed, Naruto said, and got no reply. I'll take that as a yes then, he muttered as he turned to Shikamaru. What's the plan, dude? Shikamaru asked nervously. The killing intent leaking out was horrible and denser than anything Naruto had felt. It was even worse than Gaara's. I have one, Naruto said, and grinned. Run, he screamed, and pushed Shikamaru along. What about you? Shikamaru asked as he ran down the hill. I'll meet you in a second, Naruto yelled, and ran towards Sakura and Ino. Sakura! Ino! He screamed and jumped into their fight. Teiwaya had summoned two large demon creatures and was controlling them with her flute, but the sudden appearance of Naruto threw her off. What the hell? She muttered. Let's go, we got a lot of trouble that we can't handle, Naruto said, and grabbed both of them around the waist. He had found a natural resource of raw strength called fear within himself, and it was fueling him entirely right now. He wasn't afraid for himself, he was afraid that this man would kill his team and then destroy Konoha. What? Ino asked as she suddenly found herself looking at Sakura as they ran. Naruto! Sakura yelled as he took off, sprinting to the large concrete slab with water rushing down it. Shut up and hold on! He screamed and jumped high into the air. He landed on the concrete slab, focusing chakra into his feet, and they went flying down the slab. The girls were screaming wildly, not from enjoyment but from fear in its purest form. Okay, listen, Naruto said quietly enough for only them to hear. You guys know what Biju are, right? Yeah, demons like the Kyubi no Kitsune. Why? Sakura asked. Because demons are sealed within people, and well, back there one of those people just appeared. They are called Jinchuriki. Gaara was a Jinchuriki also, Naruto said. We can't handle that man, he's just too strong, Naruto said as they raced down the concrete slab. Naruto! Sakura muttered as she craned her head back. We have to get a move on if we want to escape, Naruto continued. Naruto! Sakura screamed. Look! What? Oh, Kami, fuck me! He muttered as he looked back. Roaring down from the top of the hill was a giant wave of water, and on top of it was a form that wasn't easily recognizable due to the sun blaring on him, the light obscuring his features. Faster! Ino screamed. Oh god, Naruto, faster! She begged. Hold on! Naruto yelled and brought his hands together, which resulted in slightly crushing the girls. Sorry! He muttered as he made a cross seal. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Suddenly 3 clones appeared in front of Naruto and they immediately laid down on the slid belly down and waited for the next phase of Naruto's plans. Okay, get on their backs and balance yourselves with chakra. Don't use too much because they are using their own chakra to skim on the water. Naruto said and set the girls down on 2 of the clones' backs. He jumped up onto the middle clone's back and they all took off even faster. Whoa, if we weren't running for our lives. Ino said. This might be pretty fun. Sakura finished for her and turned around. Oh god. She yelped. Damn it. Naruto said as he looked at what she saw. The wave with the man on it was even closer now. Naruto swore and looked at both girls and grinned. The end of the concrete slab was coming up finally and he knew that they could now run across the water easier. Okay guys, think you're up for a huge leap, we gotta get it right so that we land on the water and then just keep running. Naruto said and the girls nodded. Okay Naruto. Sakura said and Naruto heard the worry in her voice. Don't worry Sakura, nothing will happen to my teammates while I'm around. He said and she smiled. Thanks Naruto. She said feeling more reassured. Okay, 1, 2, 3 jump. Naruto yelled and the trio jumped straight forward. They soared through the air and Naruto turned in midair and looked back just in time to see the giant wave crash down on his 3 clones and destroy them. Close one, now let's go. He shouted as they landed and began to run like hell. Annoying little brats. Oka muttered as he landed lightly on the water. But I guess they completely forgot that my affinity is water. He said and sunk down into the lake. Here Foxy, this gator won't bite. Oka muttered evilly as he completely submerged himself. Naruto was seriously regretting taking this mission, hell he was regretting that he beat Kiba. As he was running he felt a sudden demonic chakra fly underneath him and he jumped back and stopped Ino and Sakura from straight towards the area where the man was now emerging from the lake. What the hell? Sakura muttered in fear as Oka's killer intent washed over them. Stay behind me. Naruto whispered fiercely and the girls jumped back a few feet. Come on Kyubi, get ready to hit me. He said mentally and heard a growl in response. So, you're Naruto Uzumaki. Oka said as he completely emerged from the water. You're my age. Naruto said in shock as he looked at Oka. Yeah, now shut up and fight before you die. Oka said as he flashed his bright white teeth that were razor sharp right now. Sakura, Ino, get back further. Naruto said as he fell into a fighting stance. Cut. Okay, so, since I haven't updated in forever, I decided that I'm going to write out the entire fight and everything in this chapter. Take this as my apology. Action. Yes. Oka said as green chakra began to pour from his skin. His pupils suddenly slit and his irises turned a sickly yellow color. His fingers got a bit longer and his nails slowly extended out so that they were about an inch long and razor sharp. His hair went from blue to a sickly green color and Naruto knew that he was going into his first stage of transformation. Only thing was, he was in control of it. Let's start with 2 tails. Oka said as the green chakra exploded and condensed around him. It took on the shape of his body and behind him swung 2 tails of green chakra. Oka fell down onto all fours and snarled at Naruto as a long snout made of chakra protruded from the cloak. Oka snarled and the snout opened to reveal razor-sharp chakra teeth and Naruto knew that they were just as deadly as Oka's claws and abilities. Naruto? Ino said worriedly. Will you be okay? She asked and Naruto shrugged. I hope so. I need you guys to go further back again. Naruto said and the girls nodded. Not so fast. Oka said and 2 pillars of rock shot out from the lake. They wrapped and held Ino and Sakura in a tight bounding. Naruto swore as Oka laughed wildly. Surprise, I can use 2 elements. He said and grinned. The Gobijin Hierarchy raised his left hand and the pillars of rock began to rise, taking Sakura and Ino higher into the sky. This way they don't die by accident, I want to save them for a treat later. Oka said and licked his lips. What do you mean? Are you a cannibal? Naruto asked in disgust. No, I mean. That blonde girl looks rather mature, she should be good in bed, don't you think? Oki asked. Boom. Water exploded everywhere and when it settled Naruto stood in a crouch position, his hands hovering just above the water. His red chakra cloak surrounded him, behind him swayed one tail of chakra. Or maybe the pink-haired girl, her chest is a bit smaller than the blonde girl's, but not by much. I'm sure she can handle me. Oka said, and Naruto looked up from the lake water and into Oka's eyes. His eyes turned blood red as his pupils slit. Oka watched as another tail emerged from his lower back and joined the first tail. Naruto disappeared suddenly from sight and Oka heard a voice in his ear. Squeal for me. Suddenly he felt Naruto's fist slam into his back and send him rocketing down to the bottom of the lake. Naruto stood with a snarl as he growled at the pile of oxygen bubbles that were quickly rising to the surface where Oka had gone under. Is that all, Gator Boy? He asked with a evil and cold voice. Naruto stood and waited for something to happen when suddenly the lake surface began to bubble and the water went from a nice blue to a shining green that seemed to resonate from the bottom of the lake. Suddenly two large clawed arms of water shot from the lake and grabbed Naruto around his chest, pinning his arms to his sides. Suddenly the water beneath Naruto parted to the sides and revealed the bottom of the lake, which was only 200 feet or so deep. Like Moses did with the Red Sea, Naruto struggled against the water arms, but suddenly they were throwing him downwards into the rock bed beneath the lake. He slammed into the rock bed and it spider-webbed where he landed, and then suddenly it shattered and made a large crater. Oki appeared before him and slammed a fist into his gut, making the crater explode and became deeper and wider. Naruto coughed up blood but didn't stop fighting. He reached up and grabbed Oka's fist and squeezed as hard as he could. He felt the boy's triceps tearing and suddenly the bone in his forearm shattered. Oka screamed in anger and pain as he jumped back and held his arm to the side. Naruto got to his feet slowly and watched the arm start to heal itself, then suddenly it was as good as new. Regeneration skills rock, eh? Oki asked before the walls of water crashed into him, and when they returned to the sides of the water Oka was gone. Naruto had no idea which side of the lake he was on now and looked around looking and sensing for his presence. Where are you? Naruto roared and clawed at the water, but his arm slid in and then out of it. Right here. Oka said as he flew past Naruto, but he clawed across the boy's chest leaving a deep gouge in it. He disappeared back into the walls of water and Naruto bent over as Kyuubi healed his wound. Right when it healed he felt Oka fly over his back leaving a deep gouge across his shoulder blades. Naruto shot straight up in pain and snarled. Fight me like a real man, you little bitch. Naruto screamed and Oki appeared in front of him. Nah, I'll fight you like this. The Gobijin hierarchy said and punched Naruto straight in the face. Naruto was sent flying backwards at speeds that would have Lee weeping if he saw them. Oki reappeared behind Naruto and kicked straight up. His foot smashed into Naruto's back and the blonde boy was sent flying upwards. As Naruto flew up, Oka kept shooting from both sides of the water walls, clawing at the blonde and punching him. When Naruto began to fall, Oka would begin to kick him up again, but not only up but to the dies and all around. Naruto could only helplessly try to guard himself from the unrelenting attacks. There was no way that he could stop Oka, he was on the boy's own terrain right now. Naruto only knew water jutsu, so he couldn't even use that against Oka with succession, and Kage Bunshin was out of the answer because the Gobijin hierarchy would easily dispatch them. Naruto could only try and defend himself for all he was worth and hope for a miracle. Come on, you have the strongest of all the Biju and yet I'm killing you. Oki asked as he appeared above Naruto. The blonde boy was bleeding profusely from the beating he had taken. There was gouges all over his chest, back, legs, and arms. Oka cut deep, but he never cut deep enough to kill. He was only toying with Naruto. Shut up! Naruto screamed and lashed out with his right arm. It raked across Oka's cheek and left a long and deep gouge. You're gonna pay for that one, bitch! Oka screamed and grabbed the front of Naruto's shirt. He slammed his forehead into Naruto's and then disappeared and reappeared beneath Naruto. He wrapped his arms around Naruto's chest and squeezed tightly. Tell me how you like this. Oka screamed as H tilted backwards and he and Naruto began to fly downwards like a drill. This is like Lee's move. Naruto thought. They began to spin faster and faster and green chakra and red chakra branched out and whipped the water walls. Naruto grunted as he tried to break free of the attack, but he was so disoriented now that he couldn't do anything. Take this! Oka screamed as he suddenly stopped spinning and did a front flip and threw Naruto down at the ground. The Gobijin hierarchy landed on the water wall and began to sprint down and landed on the ground minutes before Naruto ever would. He clenched a hand and suddenly spears of water shot out from the lake and began to pierce Naruto's body in numerous places. After about 3 minutes Naruto hung limply as spears held him aloft in the water. He was inches from the ground and Oki only smirked at him. "You pathetic, why does my uncle want you killed so badly?" Oki asked Naruto as he held his hand down to his side. He made a claw and water began to gather in it until he had a perfect sphere of water floating in it. "I've seen your little water drill attack and I'm impressed. It's close to one of Goba's favorite attacks," Oki said as he grinned evilly. "Now please for my sake, die," Oki said and shot his hand forward. "Sutin, Yabarago." The water sphere exploded and it began to spin before a large alligator exploded from the point of the drill. Its jaws were open and were aimed directly at Naruto's chest. The blonde just let his head fall limply and he closed his eyes. "See, can you see anything?" Sakura asked worriedly. "No, we're too high up, but I can sense that one chakra getting stronger," Ino said and Sakura nodded. "I don't think Naruto is winning," Sakura said and Ino nodded sadly. "He may be strong but after fighting Kiba, Gaara, and Sasuke, he is weakened and running here didn't help him out much," Sakura said and Ino sighed with regret. "If only we could help him," she screamed but the rock held her firm. "Wait Ino, I see something," Sakura exclaimed and sure enough they saw the duo emerging from the water where the large opening was. "Oh my god, he's destroying Naruto," Sakura screamed and Ino struggled more. "Naruto-kun!" Ino screamed as she saw the duo disappear as Oki latched onto Naruto's back and began to use a move used by Rock Lee. "No. I just finally said sorry, he can't die now," Sakura screamed. "Naruto! Naruto!" Naruto's eyes snapped open suddenly and he looked at the alligator coming at him. "I'm not going to die here," he screamed and red chakra erupted from his body. Oki was thrown backwards and the water that bound Naruto evaporated from intense heat. Oki was sent skidding backwards and when he stopped he looked and saw a raging pillar of white flames. He could only watch as the rock beneath Naruto was turned into diamond from the intense heat and density of the chakra. "What the hell?" Oki asked with a slight ting of fear in his voice. "Hee, this should be interesting," the Kyuubi said as it felt Naruto getting angry. "Don't lose control kid. Are you ready to die now?" A voice full of hate said and the flames died away slowly. Standing where the flames had originated was Naruto but he no longer had the same red demon cloak. He now stood with red flames flickering over his entire body but they were transparent. The tips of each flame were black and on top of Naruto's head were 2 5-inch tall fox ears that were red and had black tips. 3 real fox tails swung behind him and each was on fire that was entirely blood red until the tip of his tail where the fire turned completely black. The fire didn't look normal, in fact it looked almost like fur. If only the water around Naruto wasn't steaming then Oki would have thought it was. Naruto looked up from the ground and looked directly at Oki and Oki froze. The blonde's eyes were different. Instead of having slitted pupils like all Jinchuriki did, Naruto now had normal eyes, only his irises were red and slowly pulsed. His pupils were normal. It was way more different than anything Oki had ever seen. "What are you?" Oki asked in fear. "My name is Uzumaki Naruto. I am the Prince of Whirlpool. I am the jailer of the Kyuubi no Kitsune. I am the winner of the Chunin exams. I am the one who defends those he loves. I am your death," Naruto said and disappeared in a flash of intense fire. Oki couldn't react as Naruto's fist slammed into his face and sent him flying backwards. Oki felt his cheek flaking and when he looked at the skin he saw that it was entirely black. Oh my god!" Oki muttered and jumped to his feet. He ran into the water to escape Naruto and he shot to the surface. "Die you bitch!" Oki screamed as he slammed his hands together. The walls of water crashed together and buried Naruto at the bottom of the lake. "Water beats fire," Oki said as he got to his feet and smirked. He began to walk away when he felt the lake began to boil around him, literally boil. He jumped up into the air and watched as a whirlpool began to swirl around and suddenly at the very bottom of it stood Naruto still in his 3-tailed state. He was looking up at Oki with a bored look and he shook his head. "Did you forget what I said?" I'm the Prince of Whirlpool, of course I have a affinity for water, dumbass. The blonde said and began to run around the whirlpool. Oka could only watch as Naruto jumped to the surface and came to a halt and began to run through hand seals. You can thanks Kyuubi for this one, Naruto said as he jumped up at Oki and began to spin. His arms were out so that it looked like he was a drill. His flame cloak began to blur until suddenly he looked like a flying ball of flames. Shit, Oka said and threw his hands up. A large wall of water rose high into the air and Naruto slammed into and there was an explosion of steam. Oka couldn't react as Naruto slammed into him. Ah! The Gobijin Hierarchy screamed as his flesh was burned from the intense flames. Naruto stopped spinning and as he came to a stop he grabbed Oka by the neck, burning it even more and threw him down at the lake. Kitsune Katon, Nagarabashi. Naruto slowly fell back down to the lake and landed lightly and the water beneath him steamed as he walked towards Oka's smoking body. The green chakra around the boy was fading and Naruto knew he won. As he walked he felt a searing pain suddenly shoot up his leg and he toppled. He looked down and saw that the fire on his leg was slowly disappearing. I'm out of chakra, Naruto said in disbelief. That sucks, for you, Naruto heard Oka suddenly say. He looked up and saw the boy standing. The green chakra cloak was back only now there was 3 tails swaying behind the boy and most of his burned flesh was healed. I'm going to kill you, and all of Konoha now, Oka said and began to make hand seals. Naruto swore as he felt his cloak suddenly disperse and he fell flat on his face. His clothes were completely burned off. All he still wore were his pants which were now shorts that came down to his knees and also his gloves that Teiwa had given him. That was all. Naruto groaned as he used the last scrapes of his chakra to stay afloat. It's time to die, Oka said and there was a loud explosion and a blinding mass of green light filled the area. Sarutobi-sensei, look! Jiraiya exclaimed as he pointed at a large sphere of green chakra that had filled the horizon. What the hell is that, Orochimaru? The Hokage demanded as he ran at his former student. Hihikusa really hates you, so much that they are willing to stake their own Jinhiriki against you just to kill you all, Orochimaru said and Jiraiya swore. The Gobi no Wani, the Toad Sage said and ran at his former teammate. Let's finish this, sensei. Naruto can't handle a Biju by himself, he's just too exhausted and his seal won't hold up if he releases Kyuubi, hell he couldn't even control it. The man shouted. Whoa, how troublesome, Shikamaru said as he dropped down to the ground. He almost fainted as a massive wave of killing intent washed over him. He shuddered violently and he looked down and saw Sasuke's eyes wide open. What's going on? The Uchiha demanded and Shikamaru looked up and his jaw dropped. Damn it, answer me! Sasuke yelled. Shikamaru just pointed into the distance and Sasuke's eyes followed his gaze. Holy shit! The Uchiha muttered as he saw a giant alligator. Whoa! Naruto mumbled. He was laying on the concrete slab that the water slide had been made from, but it would no longer work since Naruto had created a crater that had pretty much snapped the slab in two. Oki had released Gobi completely now and it stood roaring on the middle of the lake. Naruto was amazed at the sheer size of the beast. It took up half the lake and Naruto had to squint just to see its yellow and evil eyes. It stood on its hind legs, only it was crouched over and his front stubby arms were at its sides in a fighting stance. 5 large reptilian tails swung behind it kicking up large waves. It had dark green skin that was bumpy and Naruto knew that it was almost impossible to puncture the skin. The lake seemed to be a puddle beneath the giant's feet and Naruto knew that Kami would have to have some miracle planned if he wanted to survive this. Fuck my life! Naruto screamed and the alligator shifted its attention to him. Of course, Naruto muttered. So you are the Kyuubi no Kitsune's host? You're pathetic, trash beneath my feet. After I eat you and absorb that stupid fox, I'm going to destroy your damn village. The Biju roared and Naruto stared at it in horror. My, what big teeth you have! Naruto screamed so that the giant could hear him. I mean seriously, it's about 600 feet tall. You little brat! The Biju roared. Man, brush those nasty ass teeth! Naruto screamed and laughed as the alligator glared at him. Only I would try to piss off a Biju, he muttered to himself. The Gobi roared as it grabbed the two pillars of rock that held Ino and Sakura and broke them off. "These are your comrades, are they not?" The Gobi roared and laughed. "You better save them and fast then," the beast said as it raised its hand and a large sphere of water rose high into the air. It tossed the two girls into the water sphere and let it hover behind it. "Sakura, Ino!" Naruto screamed. "Die!" The Gobi roared as it took a step forward. "Freeze!" a cold voice suddenly said, and Naruto could only stare in amazement at the person who stood before him. "Gaara?" Naruto asked, and the red-haired boy looked down at him. "Uzumaki, get up, fight with me," the boy said, and Naruto watched as sand began to gather around the red head. "Gaara, you're alive?" Naruto asked, and the boy replied. "Yes, but get out of here now. I'm going to release Ichibai," Gaara said, and Naruto slowly climbed to his feet. "Are you sure?" Naruto asked, and Gaara nodded. "I met two people and they gave me these," the girl said. "This is for you," Gaara said, and handed Naruto 3 small blue pellets. "She said she knew you'd lose the others," Gaara said, and Naruto smirked. "Haku," he said simply. "And the man gave me this. He said to give it to you, and after the battle you must slap it on Ichibai to press back its chakra," Gaara said, handing him a seal. "Zabuza, he came prepared," Naruto said, and Gaara nodded. "Now get back. I don't want to kill you here. I'm saving that for our next real fight," Gaara said, and Naruto laughed. He quickly swallowed the 3 pills and he felt all of his chakra replenish itself. Naruto slowly stood to his feet with a cold smirk. "Do it. I'll be right next to you," he said, and Gaara looked at him. "Are you sure?" Gaara asked, and Naruto nodded and made several quick hand seals. "Oh yeah," Naruto said. "Give me as much of your chakra that you can, Fox," Naruto said, and H heard the Kyuubi growl. "Are you gonna?" "Oh yeah. Kuki Yos no Jutsu. Kuki Yos no Okamai." There were 2 large explosions of brown and red light, and when they faded, Shukaku stood on one side of the lake laughing insanely while Naruto rode on top of a massive summon. "Hey Gobi, you said something about eating me?" Kyuubi asked, and Naruto laughed evilly. "Summoning success," he said, and looked over at the giant sand wolf. "Oh look. Kyuubi and Gobi. It's a family reunion." Ichibai roared as it slammed its right forepaw down. "Well, I guess I should honor my stupid host's wishes. He wants me to destroy Gobi before I kill anyone else, and he did agree to release me if I honored those wishes," Okamai said with a growl. "Time for some alligator jerky." "Ready, Kyuubi?" Naruto asked with a sadistic grin. "I was born ready." Kyuubi roared and jumped at Gobi. Okamai dashed forward under the giant fox, and as Kyuubi slammed into Gobi's chest, Ichibai tackled its legs. The giant Biju toppled over with a roar and lashed out with its claws and raked the against Kyuubi's side, earning a snarl of anger and pain from the giant being. Gobi grabbed Kyuubi by its 4 legs and yanked him down into the water with him, and he brought his hind leg in around and kicked Okamai in the face. The giant sand wolf jumped back with a growl. Kyuubi got to its feet and slammed its front paw down on the spot that Gobi should have been laying, but the Biju had rolled to the side and jumped to its feet already. "Damn, it's fast," Naruto said as he held onto one of Kyuubi's ears tightly. "Yeah, Gobi was noted for his speed. It doesn't help that we're fighting on his own terrain," Kyuubi replied mentally. "We only have one chance of beating him, but we can't really chance it here. The attack may hit your pathetic village," Kyuubi said, and Naruto snorted. "Then let's try to get Gobi where we are standing and we can launch our attack at him," Naruto said, and Kyuubi snorted. "Your comrades are behind us, the Nara and the Uchiha." The Kyuubi spit the last word out like a disgusting drink. "Damn, we don't have time for this. Ino and Sakura," Naruto muttered angrily and looked at the giant ball of water that was holding his teammates hostage. "We have to get them," Naruto said angrily. "Any ideas then, Kit?" Kyuubi asked as the 9-tailed fox stared at Gobi and Ichibai fighting. "How long do you think I could last in 3-tailed state?" Naruto asked, and Kyuubi snorted, which resulted in a large wave shooting across the lake and splashing against Gobi and Ichibai's feet. "Kit, you can't even use the form completely, it drains your chakra, so when you run out, bye-bye Kyuubi summon," Then we'll see you fight against the Goba with your weak pathetic powers. The Kyuubi said and Naruto nodded. This really sucks. Maybe we can, no. How about we, Kami? Naruto screamed in frustration. Are you afraid of me, you fools? Or do you know that you cannot defeat me? Gobi roared as it grabbed Ichibai by the neck in its single tail. It spun on its clawed heels and threw the great being high into the air. It slashed a single arm down at the giant being and a long scythe of water launched out from the lake and flew at the demon. Suten, Mizu Oagama. The giant water scythe slammed into Ichibai's underbelly and the sand wolf cried out in pain. It was sent hurtling through the air and slammed down into the forest that was bordering the lake, making the entire ground tremble from its fall. Holy shit! Shikamaru muttered as he saw the giant sand wolf sent hurtling. The Kyuubi, and 2 other giant summons, is that really Naruto fighting? He asked himself. Yeah. I can see him. Sasuke muttered. He was in a sitting position now with his Sharingan activated. He's on top of Kyuubi, but I don't know why. The Uchiha muttered. Who knows, he is Naruto after all. Shikamaru muttered as he watched the titanic battle. His eyes drifted up and he saw the large sphere of water floating high above the water. Hey, isn't that Ino and Sakura? Shikamaru yelled in fright as he saw his comrade and her friend. Where? Sasuke asked quick and curt. There, in the large water sphere, that damn alligator thing must be holding them hostage. Shikamaru said and Sasuke snorted. Let's see if the dobe can actually save his pathetic team. Sasuke said with a smirk. If he fails here, I'll rise up and Konoha will acknowledge me as their savior. Sasuke thought with a small and evil smirk. Okay, here's the plan, you're going to launch me at the water sphere. Naruto said and the Kyuubi roared, with laughter. That's your plan. Okay, get ready to fail then. The monster said and Naruto snorted. Why would I fail? I can manipulate water due to my heritage so I can easily make my way in and out. The blonde boy said and the Kyuubi shook its head. Yeah, maybe normal water traced with your chakra, but that is a sphere of water only, it has a shitload of Goba's chakra within it. Can you manipulate another Bijuu's chakra? Kyuubi asked and Naruto shook his head. I don't care, just do it, it's worth a try. Naruto said and the fox snorted. If you die I swear, I'll use all my power to bring you back and then I'll kill you myself. Kyuubi said and held out his paw. Get on, he said and Naruto chuckled and jumped down into the fox's clawed paw. Okay, wait, are you gonna? Naruto asked and Kyuubi chuckled. Yup. The fox roared out loud and cocked its claw back and threw Naruto with its immense strength. Wah! Naruto screamed as he rocketed through the air. He brought his arms to his sides and adjusted himself so that he could get his teammates. I only have one chance at this. He muttered. He looked down and saw Kyuubi running beneath him and he looked up and saw Gobi roaring and getting ready to grab him out of midair. Shit, he thought. Kyuubi suddenly lunged forward and tackled Gobi and knocked him down just as Naruto flew overhead. A large wall of water flew up and blocked Naruto's path. He swore and roared with a battle cry as he focused his chakra to his fist and cocked it back. Move, bitch, get out the way. Naruto screamed and smashed his fist into the water wall. A large hole blew apart in it, sending rain down to the earth, and Naruto kept flying through the hole he made. The water sphere was only 10 feet away. 1. Boom. Naruto slammed into the water sphere and whizzed through it. He felt Goba's chakra burning at his skin and he figured that it was because he was Jinhyuriki and so it was the 2 Bijuu's chakras fighting each other. As he flew towards the center of the water sphere where Sakura and Ino were struggling for oxygen, he spread his arms apart just as he reached them. As he flew past, he wrapped both his arms around their waists and kept going, only he pulled them with him. Shit, we're slowing down. Naruto cursed. Come on, Naruto, think. The blonde tried to come up with a way to get out of the water prison, but he had none. Wait, he thought and brought his hands together, and the action made Sakura and Ino move in front of him, completely halting them. They were only 40 feet away from the other side of the water sphere now. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Naruto created a clone and it appeared behind him and already knew what it had to do. Naruto pulled Sakura and Ino closer to him and hugged them tight, and they knew that he must be planning something because they latched on for dear life. Naruto's clone began to make hand seals and Naruto tensed himself for what was about to happen. This is going to hurt, he thought to himself. Suten, Suiryuadon no Jutsu. A large water dragon formed within the water and it flew at Naruto's back and slammed into him. Naruto felt a few of his ribs crack and he knew that this wasn't his brightest idea he ever had, but hey, it worked. The trio was propelled from the water and they shot out from the other side, but now they had a new problem. Ah! They all screamed as they fell through the air. Naruto swore silently. And Naruto do something. Ino screamed and Naruto sighed. I didn't think about this part of the plan. He muttered as they fell. Well, guess we're about to die, he asked himself. Come on Kami, you gave me the last miracle, now give me another one, he shouted to the heavens. You hear something? Kami asked. Nope, just start the movie. Shinigami said as he popped a handful of popcorn into his mouth. Oh well. Kami said and hit play. Thanks. Naruto muttered as they fell. It was then that he saw a shape flying towards them. Hey, what's that? Sakura asked and his eyes widened as he saw what it was. It was none other than a 20-ton fur ball. Naruto sighed as he realized the complications that this was about to bring up. He threw Sakura and Ino into the air as he grabbed one of Kyuubi's ears and balanced himself on his head. The giant fox landed on the ground and skidded, tearing up the forest around them. Its tails shot up and grabbed both girls and gently set them down on its head next to Naruto, where they stared at him in fear. This is the Kyuubi. Sakura screamed. Hee, yeah. Naruto muttered sheepishly. This is the Kyuubi, but for now let's just focus. Hey Furba, set us down over there and hurry up and end this battle Naruto said and Kyuubi growled. Watch it mortal, I'm getting hungry. The giant demon said and the girls shuddered. Ah, stop lying, you can't eat me and you know why. Naruto said and the Kyuubi growled. Grab on. The giant demon said as one of its 9 tails came up to its head. Let's go. Naruto said and jumped onto Kyuubi's tail and helped both girls up next to him. Kyuubi slowly brought his tail down, well slow to him, to Naruto, Sakura, and Ino it was super fast. As soon as they were on the ground they jumped off the tail and fell to the ground. Okay, I wish I hadn't come now. Ino said and Naruto nodded. All for that Uchiha. He muttered and both girls nodded. She's completely turned away from Sasuke. Naruto thought as he saw Sakura looking at him in anticipation. Where is Sasuke? Sakura asked and Naruto pointed to the other side of the lake. Over there with Shikamaru. Naruto said, pointing at the area that his other teammate was. Okay, well. Look out. Sakura screamed and Naruto turned and saw Goba flying at them. Oh shit. He muttered as Goba brought its arm back. Die, you annoying insect. Goba roared and slammed its massive claw down. No. Naruto screamed. Boom. Oh Kami. Shikamaru muttered as he saw the Goba slammed its arm down where Naruto, Sakura, and Ino were. They're dead. He muttered. Let's get out of here. Sasuke muttered and stood to his feet. You're just going to abandon your team? We have to fight this fight and save Konoha. Shikamaru yelled at the stubborn raven-haired boy. You think we can fight those? Have fun then. Sasuke muttered and began to walk away. Stop. Shikamaru ordered and grabbed Sasuke's shoulder. Sasuke didn't even think about it, he just lashed out with all of his anger. He slammed his goof fist into Shikamaru's gut and then threw a roundhouse kick at his face. Shikamaru was sent flying into a tree where his head slammed into it and knocked him out. Fool. Sasuke muttered and began to walk again. As the dust settled, Sakura and Ino were surprised to find themselves unharmed. They were shaking violently and they looked at each other and then at the spot where Naruto had been. And Naruto? Ino asked slowly. Stay back. Came a calm and cold voice. As the dust completely settled, it revealed Naruto in his 3-tailed state. He was holding the Goba's claw back with his right hand while his left one was hanging at his side. Are you okay? Sakura asked with concern. I'm fine, just get out of here quickly, I'll be right behind you. Naruto said as he struggled to keep Goba's claw from crushing them. Are you sure? Ino asked. Go. This is sapping my strength. Naruto screamed and the girls nodded their heads as they managed to get to their feet and start to run towards the village. Tell the Sandaime about this, tell him to get here quick. Naruto ordered and the girls nodded and disappeared into the woods. Foolish little mortal. Gobi roared as it pressed down harder with its claw. Naruto quickly stepped to the side and threw himself over the Gobi's hand so that he was crouching on it. He sprinted up the giant Bijuu's arm with insane speeds that rivaled Lee's own without his weights. Naruto set his sights on the area that he knew he should get to if he wanted to end this fight. Gobi tried to shake him off but Naruto was stuck to the beast's arm with chakra. Naruto got to the beast's shoulder and ran up its head. He did a backflip and landed on the alligator's snout and looked into its eyes. Its yellow piercing eyes stared at him while he stared back with his blood-red eyes that pulsed. I will not allow you hurt the ones I hold precious. Naruto said and reached into his shorts and pulled out the seal that Zabuza had given Gaara. You fool. I will destroy you. Gobi roared and Naruto shook his head. No. He said and slammed the seal down on the beast's snout. You won't. Immediately the Gobi stumbled and Naruto could feel the immense chakra disappearing. Leave, go back to your cage you stupid gator. Naruto said and in a bright flash of light and a loud scream the Gobi no Wani was resealed within Oki. Naruto had been atop of a 500-foot-tall alligator and now that it was gone he was hurtling down to the earth with the Gobi Jinchuriki next to him. No, no, you can't beat me. Oki yelled as they fell. This is it, for my village and the ones I protect, you lose. Naruto screamed as he made a cross seal. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. A clone appeared next to Naruto and began to shape chakra inside Naruto's hand. Instead of blue chakra forming it was instead red and seemed to glow with fire. What are you doing? Oki asked as he looked at the attack in horror. I'm finishing this battle. Naruto said as the clone completed the jutsu. Instead of a normal and typical Rasengan in his hand Naruto now had a red Rasengan that had tendrils of red fire whipping around it. The ball of red chakra was only the size of a baseball but Oki knew that a lot of chakra was condensed into it. Naruto did a front flip and dove forward his right hand with the Rasengan extended forward as he sped up. He snarled as he was mere inches from Oki and both were about 20 feet from the ground. Don't ever come back here. Naruto screamed as he brought his hand back and then slammed it down into Oki's chest. Rasengan. There was an explosion of red as the sphere of chakra exploded and blasted Oki down into the ground. The earth spider webbed under the boy as he made contact with it. Suddenly the ground compressed slightly before the earth shattered and Oki was driven into a crater 15 feet deep. Naruto landed on the edge of the crater and toppled to one knee as his three-tailed form burned away. The black and red flames drifted up into the air as Naruto stared down at Oki. That's what you get. He said and slowly stood to his feet. Why you foofucker? Oki weakly yelled as his head lolled to the side. He wasn't dead but merely unconscious. Naruto looked at him for a few seconds longer before looking up and seeing Kyuubi standing in front of him. Hey, I thought you would disperse if I used Three Tails form. Naruto asked and Kyuubi snorted. I'm absorbed some of your chakra before you went Three Tails, besides we have a new problem. Kyuubi said and Naruto looked up to see the Ichibai growling at them. Aw crap. He muttered as he thought about the events that just happened. I used the seal. He said and Kyuubi dropped its head and shook it. No matter, we don't have time to dolly around here, we're both almost out of chakra because of today's events and your vigorous training. I'll use an attack but it will drain me, you have to get Gaara to wake up. Kyuubi said as it planted its feet firmly on the ground. Wait, what? Naruto asked as the Kyuubi picked him up off the ground. You have one shot so don't fuck up, this attack will freeze Okamai for a minute. Kyuubi said as it set Naruto on its head. What are you going to do? Naruto asked as he gained his balance on the giant demon. I'm going to use that attack I was talking about earlier. After I use it I'll dispel but I'll have a time frame of 10 seconds. I'm going to hurl you at Okamai after he is hit by the jutsu. Kyuubi said and Naruto scratched his head. What is going to happen? He asked and the giant fox chuckled. Just prepare a Rasengan and aim for Gaara. Kyuubi said as it reared its head back. One of its furry tails snuck up and wrapped around Naruto and brought him backwards in the air. Naruto could feel the muscles tensing up in the giant fox. It's time to die, Kyubi. Okamai screamed as it jumped at Kyubi. Naruto swore and quickly created a clone that landed on a tail that shot up to catch it. It began to shape the last amounts of chakra Naruto was able to call upon in his hand. It took a few seconds, but when it was complete he dismissed the clone and sat ready as Okamai fell down upon them. Kyubi roared as it shot its head forward and launched a giant ball of fire that flew at Okamai in midair. The fire was white and the water beneath it hissed and steamed as the lake began to evaporate from the intense heat. Oni Katon, Kami Nagare. The giant ball of fire hit Okamai dead on and there was a blinding light that lit up everything all the way to Konoha. Naruto had to shield his eyes as a wave of intense heat washed over him. When the light faded he saw Okamai. No, he didn't see the giant sand wolf, he could actually see through the giant monster. Kyubi wasted no time in completing the plan. Naruto felt Kyubi flex the muscles in his tail once before suddenly he was shot straight forward at the demon made of pure glass. Naruto looked into its yellow eyes that were watching him carefully and bore a shitload of hate and anger. Naruto looked close and saw Gaara sleeping between both eyes. Naruto grunted and stretched his hand with the Rasengan out towards the boy as he flew. "Wake up, Gaara!" Naruto screamed as he brought his hand back and thrusts it forward into the forehead of the Okamai. Time seemed to freeze as cracks spider-webbed along the entire demon's head. Naruto saw Gaara's eyes flutter for a second before they shut tight. Naruto ground his teeth together as he pushed the spiraling ball of chakra further into the glass demon. He poured all of the chakra remaining in his body into the attack. The ball of chakra seemed to increase in size as it began to crack and chip away at the giant demon. Rasengan of Grace! Naruto screamed as the Rasengan exploded and a large crater appeared in the demon's head. Gaara was sticking half out of it and was slumped over unconscious, and Naruto began to make his way up the demon now shattered head. "Gaara!" Naruto called weakly as he grabbed the edge of the crater. "Gaara, you have to." Naruto muttered as he collapsed next to the red head. "Wake up!" Naruto muttered as blackness took over his vision. He felt the Kyubi disperse suddenly and he swore. "We almost did it, but I'm just too tired," Naruto thought as his vision began to dim. He had just one small and simple task ahead of him and he couldn't do it. What kind of shinobi was he? Now Okamai would run loose and destroy his village and kill Ino, Temari, Kiba, Jiraiya, Sakura, Shikamaru, Lee, Ichiraku, everyone he cared for. Naruto felt tears leaking out of his eyes as the last of his vision disappeared. "You're so weak, and you hold the title of Uzumaki? Fool!" a voice said from within the darkness of his mind. Naruto couldn't respond as he felt the weakness take away all of his abilities. "So you're going to let everyone die? You can't muster enough strength to finish this battle." Naruto felt anger as this voice ridiculed him relentlessly. The blackness he saw began to disappear in little white dots and soon he had his vision back even though it was a bit blurry. "I will not fail!" Naruto screamed as she lashed out weakly with his left fist and smashed it into Gaara's exposed face. The redhead's eyes shot open immediately and Naruto let his anger subside as he grinned at his demon brother. "Uzumaki? Why didn't you sue the seal?" Gaara asked as cracks began to spread out over Okamai's body. "I used it by accident earlier," Naruto said and blacked out. "We shall meet soon, very soon, Uzumaki," was the last thing Naruto heard. "So, I see this battle has been lost," Orochimaru said as he kneeled on his right knee. He was fending off attacks from both Jiraiya and Hiruzen. "It's time for you to die, Snake," Jiraiya said as he slammed his fist into Orochimaru's face only to have the body blow up in a shower of snake guts. "We shall meet again, don't think that you have won here, I will enact my revenge upon you fools," Orochimaru screamed as he sank into the roof of the building they had been fighting on. "Sensei! We have to pursue him," Jiraiya screamed as he slammed his fist into the roof and Hiruzen began to speak when all of a sudden two shapes landed on the building and ran towards them. "Hokage, Sama!" Ino said out of breath and collapsed to her hands and knees breathing in lungful of air greedily. "Naruto, demons, fighting!" Sakura panted and dropped to the ground coughing. "Shit! The Biju!" Jiraiya muttered and took up for the area where he had sensed the great beings it. When he arrived he only saw the very end results of things. All around large chunks of glass littered the ground. Jiraiya could sense a large amount of demonic chakra present in the glass, and he made sure not to cut himself lest he get severe chakra poisoning, since yokai was poisonous to normal humans. Jiraiya watched as a shape gently set both Naruto and Gaara down. "Hey you!" Jiraiya yelled, and the person turned and looked at him. Jiraiya gasped when he saw the sound headband, and he was about to act when the person disappeared from sight. The only thing he saw was a flurry of pink hair. "I'm so sorry, Naruto-kun," Teiwa muttered as she dashed madly through the woods. "That damn Uchiha," Shikamaru muttered as he finally came to. He looked around and found that the battle was already over. "How troublesome," Shikamaru muttered. "Damn you, Oki!" The Kusa leader screamed as he punched a large hole through his wooden table. "That damned Uzumaki. He's strong," Oki thought as a group of Umbu converged on him and took him hostage so that they could torture him, no doubt. Chapter 22, New Problems. Where am I?" Naruto asked as his eyes opened slowly and he took in his surroundings. He felt soft sheets covering him and he heard a steady beep near his head. The walls boxing him in were plain white, and there was a chair in the corner of the room. In that chair sat a sleeping figure, their head resting in their hand, which was propped up on the arm of the chair. Naruto watched as Haku let out a low yet shallow breath before her chest rose with the intake of yet another breath. His eyes traveled away from her and down to his own body. His arms were wrapped from the wrists up to the elbows with bandage, and he saw that his entire torso was also. His legs felt heavy and he slowly shifted, swinging them out and over the side of the bed. He rested his right elbow on his knee and set his forehead in the open palm of his hand and tried to remember everything. There was the invasion and, Genma, he told me to protect Sasuke. We got away from the village when Oka showed up. He released the Gobi and it took Ino and Sakura hostage. I summoned the Kyuubi and used 3 taels worth of chakra. At this remembrance of the past, Naruto felt a cold shiver race through his body and he gritted his teeth. Then I had to beat Gaara, and the next thing I knew, Naruto thought and looked up. "So I'm in the hospital, but how long have I been here for?" Naruto asked himself quietly. "About a week now. You suffered extreme chakra depletion. Hell, if Jiraiya hadn't found you and brought you back, you would have died probably," a rough and familiar voice said from the window behind him. Naruto turned and saw Zabuza sitting on the ledge with his sword leaning against the wall. "I've been out for a week," Naruto mumbled and stood to his feet, letting the covers fall away. He only wore a pair of black shorts. "What happened? Where's everyone at?" he asked, and Zabuza chuckled. "Just got out of a coma and you're already asking about everyone and everything," Zabuza muttered before looking over at the sleeping form of Haku. "She's been here every day and night looking after you. She didn't let anyone come in this room without checking them first. She actually found someone who had a syringe full of poison that they were going to inject you with, killed him right then and there," Zabuza said, and the girl he had mentioned shifted in her sleep. Naruto had no answer besides to look at Zabuza, hoping that his uncle would answer his previous question. Zabuza obviously understood what the look meant, since he began to recount what happened in the invasion. "After you left, a good-size army invaded the arena, but Konoha had already been expecting this kind of attack and they were able to organize themselves quickly enough. Me and Haku helped fight off the invading forces, and when she heard that they needed ninja to go and hold the academy, she ran from my side. I didn't see her again until they were hauling your ass in. That guy who trained you and the Hokage were up on the building fighting that snake bastard Orochimaru, and after a while I saw him retreat. Suddenly forces began to pull out and then the rounding up of the wounded began. It took most of the day until I finally heard about where you were, and when I got here you were already stabilized and under watch from Haku. None of that really matters though, because what does matter is the events of this last week," Zabuza muttered, and Naruto raised an eyebrow in question. "What do you mean?" Naruto asked. "You know those old fucks on the council? What are their names?" "Wrinkles and Sagittits," Zabuza muttered, and Naruto chuckled. "Yeah, I know who they are. They and that Danzo guy always were giving the Hokage trouble about me," Naruto said, and Zabuza shrugged. "Well, they've been calling for your banishment for the last 5 days. The civilian council is backing them on it, but most of the clan heads are waiting for you to awaken before they cast their vote," Zabuza said, and Naruto stiffened and looked down at the ground. Those fuckers. Naruto growled angrily and stood to his feet. Killing intent began to roll off him and Zabuza chuckled darkly. Okay, hold on, let's not make any rash decisions. Zabuza said and rubbed his forehead. You know they are going to call for yours and Haku's execution? Naruto asked and Zabuza grinned. Oh yeah, in fact I already dealt with a few annoying jonin who tried to kill me. Zabuza said. Let's go. Naruto said and walked from the room, leaving Haku to continue resting in her chair, or so he thought. This should be interesting. She suddenly muttered to Zabuza, who nodded his head. Yeah, let's go. He said, and Haku stood to her feet slowly, stretching out her cramped muscles before following the demon of the mist. Council Chambers. Sarutobi, you heard Uchiha Sasuke's story. Uzumaki Naruto blindly left him alone in the battlefield, and then Narashikimaru attacked him when he tried to go and join the fight. That is defying your direct orders and endangering the last surviving member of the Uchiha clan. Also look at his atrocious actions at the exams. He raised his hand against Jonin Hatake Kakashi and was harboring an A-ranked missing nin within our walls. He has committed treason and he shouldn't receive even this light of a punishment. The demon should be put to death. Homura yelled angrily and Sarutobi rubbed the bridge of his nose in annoyance. Homura, will you dash? He began but was cut off as the chamber doors slammed open, letting a large amount of light to flood in. You bastards! A voice growled darkly. Naruto stepped into better view and many of the council, the civilian side, gasped at the sudden intrusion of the demon. What are you doing here, you sick little fuck? A pink-haired woman screamed and many people in the room covered their ears. Following Naruto was Zabuza with his giant sword resting over his right shoulder, and next to him stood the seemingly shy Haku, who was looking at Naruto in worry. Hey old man, what the hell is going on? I've been out for a week and these old wrinkly fucks have been trying to banish me. Naruto said and glared at the civilian council. The shinobi council, who had been slouching in their seats since they were not taking any real part in this, sat up, noting that things were going to get exciting. Oh yeah. Grinned Inuyasukitsum, her teeth flashing a bright white. Oh boy. Narashikaku said, rubbing his eyes to clear them. Naruto, you need not worry yourself with these matters, all will be settled. The Hokage said with a sigh. Hokage. I request that you leave the room. I can handle these problems right now. Naruto said darkly, with killing intent rolling off his body. Naruto, I cannot do that. The Hokage said, and Naruto grinned. Oh well. No, on whose charge is it that I be banished? Naruto asked, his killing intent disappearing suddenly, and it seemed as though the temperature dropped a few degrees. It is on Uchiha Sasuke's, the sole surviving member of his clan. Danzo spoke up, and Naruto looked at him. Bring him in, bring in Sasuke, Sakura, Ino, Shikimaru, Gaara, and also bring in that fuck-face Oki. Naruto said, and Homura chuckled. No can do, brat. Sasuke doesn't have to be around filth like you, and we have detained the demons known as Gaara and Oka for their crimes against our city. Shikimaru is being held in a cell for his assault on Uchiha Sasuke. He can't be released at this time. As for Ino and Sakura, Homura began before being cut off. My baby will not go near you, demonic ass. If you so much as look at her again, I will kill you. Kuwabai. The pink-haired woman shouted, and suddenly everything froze. Shut up. Naruto suddenly growled mere inches from the pink-haired woman's suddenly shocked face. Shut up before I rip your fucking eyes out, you nasty-looking slut. Naruto growled, and people could see the trembles racing through his body. Naruto, stand back please. The Hokage said, and Naruto waited for a few seconds before he stepped back, never moving his glare from Harano's face. Kyaku Harano, under penalty of breaking the law set in place by me on the night of the Kyuubi attack, I sentence you to death 3 nights from today. The Hokage said, and the civilian council became deathly quiet. You cannot do that, Hokage-sama. Koharu accused, and the Hokage looked at him. I can, and I did. I set that law in place, and the rule was obvious, and so was the penalty. Harano has broken it, and so she shall suffer her own wrong decisions. The Hokage said, and waved his hand. Umbu, please detain her. With that simple order, a black shape detached itself from the wall and grabs the pink-haired woman in the blink of an eye, before disappearing from sight. Also, Homura, you shall not speak for the shinobi of this village. I can order any shinobi within these walls to do whatever I may please. After my say comes Yamanaka Ino's father's word. The Hokage said and looked at the blonde-haired man. What is it you say, Inoichi? He asked, and Inoichi chuckled. Bring her in. He said, enjoying the look of anger across Homura's face. A few hours later. Okay, so let's get this settled. The Hokage said, and Naruto grinned at the enraged look on many faces. Naruto is to be banished? Sasuke yelled as he stood up from his chair. Why is that? Gaara asked, looking at Sasuke with a plain look. Shut up, you filth, don't speak to me. Sasuke spit and Naruto shook his head. Shut up, you gay-ass failure. Naruto said and stood to his feet. Why is it that I should be banished for false accusations? It was me who saved this village from 2 Biju, well technically 1 but still. I fucking watched that gay ass as he passed out from his loss at the Chunin exams. It was me who saved Sakura and Ino from the Gobi. It was me who suppressed both the Ichibai and the Gobi, and this SI the thanks I get? You take Sasuke's side when you weren't even here and he was out like a light? You worthless pieces of shit. How did you get on this council even? Whose dick did you suck and whose ass did you kiss, because I know that Jiji didn't put you on there. Naruto yelled, and suddenly there were protesting yells from everywhere. Shut up. Oka screamed suddenly, and his Umbu guards tightened their grip on him. God damn you vultures, just shut up and give me quietness. He ordered and sealed Soti's eyes. Everyone was silent, staring at him before chaos broke out again. Shut up. The Hokage screamed, and Oka thanked Kami for the order. I will have order. He screamed, and everyone became silent. Shikamaru, did you ever attack Sasuke? The Hokage asked, and Shikamaru nodded. Oh yeah, I kicked his ass in the exams. Shikamaru said, and Sasuke hissed. But after that I didn't touch the fag. Shikamaru said with a shrug and leaned back. He awoke when I was watching him and tried to run from the battle instead of helping his teammates out, and I grabbed his shoulder to stop him and he attacked me. Shikamaru finished, and the Hokage nodded. Sasuke, is this true? He asked, even though he knew the true answer. No, why would I waste my time on such scum? Sasuke asked, and the Hokage sighed. Lying little fuck. He mumbled so only a select few people could hear, and they all laughed at the insult. Sakura, was Sasuke awake at any time that you saw him? The Hokage asked, and she laughed. Yeah, he was. She said, and Sasuke smirked at Naruto with a look saying, I win. Told you, old man. Naruto is a liar. Sasuke said. He was awake when Naruto was kicking his ass, but he was knocked out the entire time that he was placed under Naruto's care. I didn't know he even came to during the fight. The pink-haired girl said, and Sasuke stared at her. You little slut. He screamed. The Hokage continued, ignoring the whining Uchiha. Ino, is it true that Naruto saved yours and Sakura's lives and then told you to find me so that I could come and help end his battle? He asked the blonde girl. Yes, Hokage, he rescued us from the water sphere we were trapped in. She said, and the Hokage nodded. Tell me, what was Naruto fighting against? The Hokage asked, and Ino replied with a touch of fright. Against that kid right there. Ino said, and pointed at Oki, who opened a single eye and looked at her. He turned into some giant alligator, the evil coming from it was horrendous. She shuddered. Sounds like a good description of a Biju. The Hokage mumbled and stroked his beard. You, Oki, did you release you Biju, and if you did so, who is it that defeated you? The Hokage asked. It was me. Sasuke screamed, trying to take credit. Nope, wasn't the duck-ass-haired kid. Oki grumbled and looked at Naruto with a look of contempt but hidden respect. It was that runt right there, and yeah, I did release the Gobi no Wani. Oki said before becoming silent again. Who are you calling runt? Naruto yelled accusingly, but Oki didn't answer. Sasuke, you say you defeated this demon, right? The Hokage asked, and Sasuke puffed out his chest. Yeah, I did. He said cockily. How did you do so when you were found a good distance from the battle? Naruto was found heavily injured and also very close to both Gaara and Oki. Does this mean you attacked him also? The Hokage asked, and Sasuke snorted. I knew what I had to do and I did it, and then got the hell out of Dodge to come back to the village. Sasuke said, triumph in his eyes. But that means you abandoned you teammate. The Hokage mused and Sasuke froze. Busted. Naruto laughed and Sasuke glared at him. Shut up, you sorry excuse for a human. You dad must have been a lonely fucking loser who did nothing for this village and got bored one night and fucked the nearest prostitute he could find. I feel sad for the skanky bitch who calls you her son. Sasuke said, killing intent rolling off him. Naruto jumped to his feet and began to run at Sasuke, but suddenly something else happened. Bam! Everyone in the chamber found themselves staring at Zabuza holding Sasuke up against the wall by his neck, and from the looks of it he was squeezing very tight. Sasuke was struggling to breathe and his face was red, but Zabuza didn't let up. If you ever say something like that about my sister, I will rip your intestines out and strangle you with them as I shove your own femur up your ass and out your mouth. Do you understand? Zabuza screamed and everyone stared with horror as he hurled Sasuke to the floor, which began to cough violently. Rude. Danzo screamed and suddenly a multitude of black shapes began to bust into room and they surrounded Zabuza, who grabbed his sword. There were at least 15 of the Rutumbu in the room and Naruto wasted no time and jumped into the battle, which meant plowing into the nearest member who grunted as he was trampled. Haku! Naruto yelled and suddenly a mini version of the 4th Great Shinobi War broke out in the chamber. More Rutumbu began to appear in the chamber and several found themselves circling around Naruto, Zabuza, and Haku. Gaara was busy dealing with 2 members by himself and Oki had elbowed both his guards in the groins before jumping to his feet and dashing from the room. Naruto watched as Sasuke growled and followed the Jinchuriki in anger. Naruto grinned and kicked the nearest ninja and ran from the room himself. Come here, you freak, I am going to kill you! Sasuke screamed in a deranged voice at the retreating back of Oki. Screw you, emo fag! Oki yelled back with a chuckle as he took a right and began running towards large building that loomed up into the sky. Sasuke followed, and when he took in the details he realized that he was running straight to the arena. I'm going to kill him, Sasuke said with a dark frown and ran through the doorway. Oki stopped when he reached the middle of the field and looked around. His hair blew to the side with a gentle breeze and he jumped backwards just as Sasuke's foot slammed down on the spot where he used to be. Damn! Oki muttered as a sudden flare of pain shot through his chest, reminding him that he couldn't overdo it with the wound he suffered. He looked at Sasuke though and looked down at the boy's arm and saw that it was now in better condition than it was when he first saw the Uchiha. The medics must have really been working on the boy's arm because it was nearly healed. All that was left was the cuts along his arm and they were wrapped in bandage. There you guys are. Oki heard the familiar voice of Naruto as the blonde ran into the arena with a wicked look on his face. Sasuke, oh Sasuke. Kakashi interrupted our last fight, did he not? Dope, come here. Sasuke yelled and made a series of hand seals. Katon, Gokakyu no Jutsu. A large ball of fire suddenly flew from Sasuke's mouth and raced towards Naruto, who grinned evilly before sidestepping the lame attack. That it? Naruto asked and cracked his neck and disappeared from sight, and Sasuke felt a fist slam into his gut before Naruto's elbow crashed down into his neck, dropping him to his knees. Naruto then delivered a spinning kick to the boy's side and sent him rolling across the ground. Well then. Oki muttered and began to walk away. Now so fast. Naruto said and reappeared in front of Oki. You called me a runt. Wham. Oki was sent flying into the sky and Naruto jumped up after him and delivered a kick to his chest that sent him flying down at the ground. He hit with a large explosion of dirt and Naruto landed next to him lightly and smirked. Oh, I'll give them a reason to banish me. Naruto screamed and suddenly he froze. He felt a sharp pain in his chest and he dropped to his knees. He clutched at his heart, not able to figure out what was wrong. Sasuke was still picking himself up and Oki was moaning in the hole he had just formed. It is almost time, Uzumaki, almost time it is. Are you prepared for it? Naruto opened his eyes and began standing to his feet when he suddenly felt a foot kick him in the face and send him flying backwards into a heap. Dope, you shouldn't have touched me. Sasuke muttered and looked at Naruto with black flames racing across his face, a purple menacing chakra enveloping him. Do you think you scare me or something? Naruto asked, getting up to his feet, and suddenly he felt Sasuke's knee in his gut. What the hell? I can't even see him. Naruto thought as Sasuke's fist came up and smashed into his face, throwing him backwards. Sasuke began to assault Naruto without mercy and Naruto was getting pissed, but he couldn't feel the other chakra there. "Hey fur dog, where are you?" Naruto yelled as Sasuke's fist slammed into his chest and sent him down into the ground. "Better yet, why the hell am I so weak?" Naruto asked and rolled to the side as Sasuke brought his fist down at his head. Naruto spun on his back and knocked Sasuke's feet from underneath him, only the boy flipped back and did a backhand spring, landing a few yards away from Naruto. "Seems that you're not too strong, Dobe," Sasuke said with a smirk. "Nope, I'm kind of tired from saving the entire village." "You wouldn't know because you were sleeping," Naruto said as he ran at Sasuke. He threw a fist at the boy's face, but before it could make contact it was stopped dead by Sasuke's own hand. "This power, it makes me stronger," Sasuke said as he closed his eyes. "Combined with my own strength dash. It makes you about as strong as a girl." Naruto finished the sentence and Sasuke opened his eyes in anger. Naruto cursed when he saw himself looking at Sasuke's Sharingan. "It makes me invincible," Sasuke said and slammed his knee into Naruto's gut, picked the blonde up, and slammed him down into the ground. He began to run through hand seals very quickly before landing on the last one. "Katon, Gokakyu no Jutsu." Sasuke blew a large fireball down at Naruto and there was an explosion of heat. "Wrong move, fag," Naruto said as he slowly stood, fire engulfing his entire body. "Wait, so I can't use any of my chakra?" Naruto demanded and the Kyuubi sighed. "No, you can't. Something is blocking it as we speak, hence the reason you are here. I fear that it is too late to stop this course of action that is taking place." The Kyuubi muttered and Naruto cupped a hand to his ear. "What was that, big guy?" he yelled. "I said shut up." The Kyuubi roared and Naruto clenched his fists. "Why can't I do anything? Why? You're telling me that someone just took control of my life for me?" Naruto screamed enraged. "Pretty much." Kyuubi sighed. To say Sasuke was sacred was an understatement. He shit his pants. Before him stood Naruto, only there was no way in hell this was Naruto. Before him, stepping out of the fire that Sasuke had blown upon him, was Naruto, only Sasuke didn't feel the same power coming from this Naruto. He felt so much power he wanted to fall to his knees and beg for mercy. Sasuke took a step back and Naruto finally stepped completely out of the fire and into better view. His skin was very pale, almost white. His eyes were no longer blue but instead they were pitch black and had blue slits for pupils. Naruto's fingernails were extended into claws that looked razor sharp and his teeth were no longer human with two sharp canines. Instead they were all sharp and were bright white. Naruto's hair was the same, only streaks of black began to slowly fade into existence and soon they were dark and heavy streaks. "You are about to die, Sasuke," Naruto said in a voice that showed only coldness. The blonde raised his hand into the air. A sphere of darkness began to form and swirl in the open palm. "Dope," Sasuke whispered in fear as the power he once held suddenly vanished and he felt his Sharingan deactivate. "No. I am not Naruto, you blinded fool. I am so much more. I am Uzumaki she said and held the sphere of blackness in front of him. "That fool has not this power easily," she said and stood in front of Sasuke and looked at him with contempt. Your eyes would be helpful to me, but fear not, you will not feel the pain of becoming blind, for I plan to completely eradicate you from the realm of living. Goodbye, human known as Uchiha Sasuke," she said and slammed the sphere of darkness down. "Kuroi Raisenshi." There was a sudden halt in Shi's plans though. Before the ball of death could hit Sasuke, Shi's arm was stopped and encased in an iceberg. "What is this?" Shi asked himself as the sphere of death crackled and tried to reach Sasuke, who passed out suddenly, a large wet stain forming on the crotch of his pants. Shi raised his other arm, only it was encased in a large pillar of sand that suddenly shot up and grabbed it. Shi growled in a very animalistic way as he turned his head and saw Haku, Zabuza, and Gaara all staring at him. "Naruto!" Haku whispered and Shi laughed. "I am that fool, but no longer him," she said and tried to pull his arms loose and felt the ice start to give. "It has begun, Haku," Zabuza said as he dashed forward and slammed his open palm into Shi's/Naruto's forehead. "Kuroikai!" Suddenly Shi's black eyes faded and Naruto's original features began to appear, and before the old Naruto could even respond he slumped over unconscious, a seal with the kanji for suppress on his forehead. We have little time to transport him to a different area for the ascension period. We must move quickly. Gaara, have you made your choice yet? Zabuza said and looked at the red-headed boy. Yes, I shall follow Uzumaki on his path and help him. Gaara said and Zabuza nodded. Good, grab that brat there and let's go. Zabuza said and grabbed Naruto as the ice holding one hand melted and turned to water and the sand fell to the ground in a pile. It reformed and wrapped around Oka before picking him up and making him float behind Gaara as the trio left. It didn't take until they were all out of Konoha heading back to Uzumaki, the land that Naruto ruled over. What the hell? Naruto yelled as he looked around. I was back in the real world with control again and now I'm back here. The blonde cursed and looked around for the Kyuubi but found him nowhere. Instead he found himself looking at a barren land where nothing was living. The soil beneath his feet was whitish-gray and in the distance to his right he saw white mountains rising and falling. To his left land seemed to stretch on forever. The sky was pitch black, there was no stars nor was there a moon, but for some reason there was light that Naruto could see by. There were trees all around but they were dead and were a light brown color. Where am I? Naruto asked and suddenly he felt a cold presence appear before him. At first it was hazy and held no shape besides for two eyes that were black with blue slits in the middle. Then it finally took on a shape that made Naruto tremble. He was looking at himself, only this self had pitch black hair, pale skin, razor-sharp teeth and claws, lacked Naruto's own whisker marks on his cheeks, and also behind the figure was a set of wings. They were black as the sky and were large on the teen's body. They were about as long as his body, connected at the boy's shoulder joints on his back, curved up until they got to his head, then stretched back down until they reached his knees where they fanned off finally. Naruto stood stock still staring at this being in front of him until finally he asked the first thing he could think of. Are you some kind of angel? He asked. You make me laugh, fool. The teen spoke in a cold hard voice. I am you. Run, you fucking retard. Naruto heard the Kyuubi suddenly screamed and he didn't waste time arguing with the demon for once. Chapter 23, Meeting the Inner Self. So what exactly is wrong with him? Gaara asked in his dry tone of voice, not showing any emotion but still curious as to what was happening to the blonde in Zabuza's arms. Zabuza didn't speak at first but instead focused on the trees that were blurring by him at a steady pace until finally he spoke. What do you know of Naruto? He asked and Gaara didn't say anything. Nothing, I presume. Well, he is of the Uzumaki clan, the most powerful clan in Uzumaki. Actually it was the ruling clan since it was one of the founders of the isolated country. They ruled with a king that was pretty much what some would call the Uzukage, only he wasn't chosen by a predecessor but instead he was chosen by birthright. The last king, or Uzukage, was my father. He had 2 children, me and Naruto's mother. Zabuza said and went silent for a while before continuing. Kushina was her name and she was born first, which entitled her to rule, only, she went away and shortly after Uzumaki was leveled by the Kyuubi no Kitsune, so all in all she still had the right to rule, only she died, but not before giving birth to the next ruler, Naruto. Well, part of becoming the Uzukage means that each Uzumaki must endure the curse of our clan. Zabuza said sadly and looked at Haku, whose face was emotionless. Gaara, how much do you know of lore? Zabuza said and Gaara took his time responding. I know enough to know that it is not true. He said simply and Zabuza nodded. Good, then this will be easier to explain. You have heard about creatures that are considered evil and mythological, and stories have been spawned over the ages about these terrors, right? Zabuza asked and Gaara looked at him with a placid look. You mean to say creatures such as zombies, vampires, werewolves, and other odd things? Gaara asked and Zabuza nodded. Then yes, in fact my home village has a story about a deranged werewolf that once attacked our village and killed many before it was ripped apart by many of our ninja and the first Kazekage. Gaara said and Zabuza sighed. Do you believe in it? He asked slowly. No. I thought that it was foolish ramble of a drunken man. Gaara muttered and Zabuza nodded. Indeed, though stories have been warped over time, it isn't far from the truth. I would not have a hard time believing that a creature like a werewolf attacked your village. You see, there are many clans with something I guess would be considered a bloodline, only it isn't your normal bloodline. Zabuza said. What you said sounds like the ancient Owakama clan. You see, in the olden days many people used to make deals with demons, and from these deals people gained incredible powers. They were to be feared not only because of the power but because the power could be passed on to their offspring. Zabuza said, and Gaara nodded. How does this pertain to Uzumaki? Gaara asked, and Zabuza sighed. You see, the first Uzumaki, let me restart that. The clan in which the Uzumaki branched off of, they had a peculiar curse within their blood. I am not sure how it originated, but I know that this curse was passed through the generations and soon it became part of most people's blood. This curse turned people into something, you would know it as the vampire. Zabuza said. Okay, what the hell? Naruto asked as he walked slowly between trees listening for the slightest noise. Next to him was a small figure that was no more than 3 feet tall with red ears and a red bushy tail. The Kyuubi no Kitsune had manifested shortly after Naruto found himself within the barren mindscape and had quickly helped him escape from the weird counterpart of himself. You're asking me? The Kyuubi muttered as it looked over its impish body that it had appeared in. Where am I and who was that guy? Naruto demanded and stopped and looked at Kyuubi. Sit. Kyuubi ordered, and Naruto looked at him, and the small fox man jumped up and smacked Naruto on the head. Listen, if you want to live. He roared, and Naruto grumbled before complying. What is it? Naruto asked, and the Kyuubi sighed. That hunk of meat you know as your uncle never got around to explaining to you what your clan really was and why you are just the prince of the Uzumakis. Kyuubi said and growled. Annoying prick. He said and continued. You see, even though the right to rule is chosen by birth, there is yet another test that the heir must pass before he can take the throne, and that is the curse of the Uzumakis. The Kyuubi said, and Naruto stared at him. Okay, then give me the simple, quick and easy version. Naruto said, and the Kyuubi sighed. Sounds good. Okay, the Uzumakis branched off of the large family of the Uzumakis, or the Crimson Whirlpool. They were known for their fierce bloodlust and power in battle. You see, the Uzumakis hold the same curse you do. They were vampires. The Kyuubi said with a shrug. What? Naruto said, and he started to shake. Listen to me, Kyuubi ordered, and Naruto glared at him. The Uzumakis were a clan of people or ninja that had some weird mutation that turned them into vampires, a creature that holds raw power and whatnot, but not the vampire you are thinking of. The Kyuubi said, and Naruto stared at him. You see, vampires were turned into these weird blood-sucking leeches when really this is what they are, a super rare subconscious being that awakens within certain people, the Uzumakis and the Uzumakis, and can take control of one's body. They are only known as gruesome terrors because they are strong, and they do have a craving for blood, but not to drink it but rather to spill it. You see. Kyuubi tried to explain but sighed. What the hell are you talking about? Naruto screamed, and the Kyuubi groaned. You have a subconscious being within yourself. You have to fight this being, and if you win then you have access to one of the most powerful powers ever, and it also allows you to claim the title Uzukage, or the ruler of the Uzumakis. Kyuubi said with a sigh. Okay, so let's say I don't think you're fucking nuts and I believe you, what if I lose? He asked, and the Kyuubi shrugged. You, as the world knows, would be gone. Your conscience would die, and that guy, he would take your body as his own and gradually absorb me, becoming one of the most dangerous beings to ever walk the planet. The Kyuubi said and smirked. You're fucking crazy. Naruto said and stood to his feet. You're telling me that I'm some weird-ass mutation that has to fight this fucking being within in me, or else I die and he takes my body and has unlimited power? Naruto screamed. I have to fight that guy. Naruto screamed even louder. Yup, good luck. Kyuubi said and sighed. If you want to know more then shut the fuck up and sit down. He grumbled, and the blonde roared and kicked at the ground. Fuck my life, seriously fuck it. Naruto muttered angrily and sat down and stared at the Kyuubi. Go on. He said darkly. Okay, so the reason that you are here is to fight that guy, is to see if you can withstand the curse. If you can't then you die and he takes your body. If you manage to beat him you gain more power. Only there are some things that make this challenging. You have no chakra, so jutsu is out of the picture. He is no doubt stronger than you, and also he has had time to find all of your weaknesses in life. Kyuubi said, and Naruto groaned and covered his face with his hands. Why me? Naruto muttered. So now that you have a rough idea of what's going on, you should probably get on the move and try to come up with a way to beat him before he finds you. The Kyuubi said, and Naruto stared at him. Can't you just get huge and kill him? Why can't I use chakra? Where am I? Naruto asked, and Kyuubi sighed. No, I can't, because the place we are at is Shi's own domain. He controls time here. The only thing that is beneficial to you is that he can't just will you dead. This battle has to take place. But I can still help you. Kyuubi muttered, and Naruto stared at him. How? Naruto asked, and the Kyuubi grinned with a fox smile. You have no weapon to beat him but me. This is the final thing I can do before I lose the ability to help you anymore. Kyuubi said, and suddenly he was engulfed by white fire and Naruto was forced to shield his eyes. When he took them down, the fox was gone, and in his place was a silver sword with a red hilt. It wasn't anything special, but Naruto knew that this was Kyuubi's final move to help him. Thanks, furball. Naruto said, and grabbed the sword's hilt. He pulled it out of the ground where it was stuck and held it in front of him and tested its weight. It seemed as though it weighed nothing, and he grinned. Better than my sword. Naruto said and sighed. It seems as though she is looking for me if what Kyuubi said was true, which means I shouldn't waste time talking out loud in case he hears me. Naruto thought with a grunt and started walking towards the mountain. It was going to be a long fight for him, a fight he had to win and didn't plan to lose. Get ready, Shi, here I come. Naruto thought as he turned his gaze into a glare full of promise and hate. He picked up the speed and began running towards the looming mountain. Things are being set into motion. A dark figure said and looked into a bowl of silver liquid in front of it. Yes. Soon the war shall come, and it is then that the boys' true battle shall begin. A second figure said from the other side of the dark room they were in. The figure was looking into a mirror of gold and looked over at a large cage that held a single person. Soon it will be your time. Unmei. Even within his mindscape he was still getting fucked over. He had gone maybe a mile before he was stopped by some weird feeling. Of course, since he had no choice but to rely on his instincts, so he listened to them and stopped, which was why Naruto was now in a shitty predicament. Wow. Naruto said. 4 shadows were slowly circling around him and he wasn't feeling a very good feeling. He watched as the shadows stopped moving and began to emerge from the ground slowly, looking like masses of ink as they began to take form. He focused on all of them slowly turning and watched as they all took the same form slowly. After they had completely formed, Naruto took in their details before gagging. Wow, you guys are pretty ugly. He muttered. The creatures in front of him were some weird combination of things. They stood at about 7 feet tall, which meant they towered over his form of 5 feet 8 inches. They had the body of a wolf that stood on 2 legs, and instead of clawed hands they had weird human-like fingers that could be used to grasp stuff along with a thumb. For a head they had a long snout and black beady eyes. Their fur was red as blood and they had a large bushy foxtail. What really got Naruto though, was the large zanbetos on their backs that were exactly identical to Zabuza's own giant ox cleaver. Naruto sighed, and before he could make a move another shadow began to swirl in front of him and he jumped backwards, careful not to land too close to the weird animals. He watched as slowly a glittery image of Shi emerged from the ground and stared at him with a cold grin. Hello Naruto. Shi said, and Naruto glared at him. Are you here to get your ass kicked? Naruto asked, and Shi chuckled. Oh no. I just want to introduce you to some of my pets. Shi said and motioned at the wolf creatures. I call them konmoi, they are simply just a recollection of your past memories and fused together into my own beings. Shi said, and the 4 konmois snarled at Naruto and bared their razor-sharp yellow teeth in what seemed to be grins. Get on with it. Naruto said, starting to feel slightly nervous. His hand slowly moved towards his sword. Shi seemed to notice this action and then the sword, and he frowned before smiling. I see the Kyuubi has helped you out. Oh well, I'll let it slide. But anyways, I'm wasting precious time, so I'll get down to business. If you want out, then you have to beat me, but not here. Shi said as Naruto took a step forward cautiously. Where? Naruto demanded. On the highest peak of the mountain in the Temple of Creation and Truth is where you will find me. Don't rush, take your time and train because you are going to need it. she said and began to disappear. Well, okay, never mind about the taking your time, because you should know. Time in here doesn't correspond with time in reality. What do you mean? Naruto asked warily. Oh, you know, what can be a day I hear could be a year in the real world, she said with a grin. It's a good thing you have a total of 7 days in here to beat me before I can take over your body, she said, and Naruto growled. I'm going to win, then he began, but she cut him off. Save it and take action, he said, and disappeared. I'll be waiting. So will I, Naruto muttered before pulling Kyuubi out in one swift motion. He didn't waste time and he turned and dived forward, driving the point of his sword into the first convoy's gut. The creature let out an HR, before it exploded in a mass of darkness that blew away. Naruto jumped back as a giant sword slammed into the spot he just stood. He was about to say something when his sixth sense told him to duck, and he did, just managing to duck under another convoy's sword slash aimed at his head. Damn, Naruto muttered as he jumped backwards a couple times and landed lightly on his feet. I wish I could use chakra, that damn training with Hayate was worthless so far, he muttered and looked at his 3 opponents. They all stood with their swords out waiting for him. Hey ugly, want to die? Naruto asked, and the creature just continued to stare at him. I'll take that as a yes, Naruto yelled and ran at the middle creature. He slashed downwards at the convoy's chest, but then he suddenly changed the flight of his slash and it arced upwards to catch the convoy on the right's upper arm. The beast let out a grunt and all 3 slammed their swords down at Naruto, who managed to roll out of the way and catch the convoy's, who he hadn't attacked, sword. He kicked out with his left leg and managed to connect with the convoy's shin, making the beast stumble before Naruto's sword found its way through the beast's neck. Naruto quickly pulled the sword out and in one fluid movement beheaded the beast, but as he brought his sword around to take on the next opponent, he felt a foot slam into his back and he was sent flying forward. He slammed into a tree and saw stars and barely managed to roll out of the way of a lunge aimed at his gut. As he picked himself up off the ground, he found that the last 2 convoy were glaring at him. Don't give me that look, Naruto said, and ran at the one who kicked him and feinted a slash at the beast's head before changing the direction of the slash downwards in order to give the beast a shallow gash on the shoulder. I made you, subconsciously, he finished and dived back just as the second convoy's sword flew at him and, since he dodged, pierced the other convoy through the chest. Nice one, ugly, Naruto said and looked at the final convoy. The beast snarled and slammed its now empty fists down on the ground as the darkness from its fallen comrades began to swirl around it. You, die, human, the beast snarled and Naruto stared at it. Fuck, you dash. Boom. Naruto found himself laid out on the ground as the beast disappeared from sight and reappeared in front of him, slamming a fist the size of a boulder into his face. Ow. Naruto screamed and felt blood trickling down his lip. That hurt, asshole. Naruto looked at the creature and found that it was now bigger, stronger, faster, and uglier than before. Fuck, he muttered as he rolled away from another fist slamming down where he was laying. He jumped to his feet and screamed. I'm going to kill you. He ran at the giant beast, which now stood at 20 feet tall, and slashed at its leg with his sword, but found that the beast was faster than he thought. Naruto found himself rolling backwards due to a vicious backhand from the beast. He came to a halt finally and jumped to his feet again, holding his sword out to his side. He glared at the giant beast, who returned the look with ease. Naruto let out a roar and tried another charge. The beast waited until Naruto was within its range before it suddenly brought its giant hand down on Naruto, trying to crush him as though he was an annoying pest. Naruto saw the hand coming and waited until it was a few feet from crushing him before he slammed the hilt of Kyuubi into the ground and dived forward. The beast's hand slammed down on the upturned blade and the sword pierced the flesh easily and embedded itself within the convoy's hand. The beast let out a howl of agony, but Naruto wasn't done just yet. The blonde ran at the monster and grabbed its leg, and when the beast swatted at him with the injured hand, he grabbed the hilt of the sword, causing the beast to cry out again. Naruto waited until the convoy brought its hand up to his face, make his next move. It didn't take long. The beast gave up on pummeling Naruto and instead tried to eat him. When Naruto was near the beast's mouth, he brought his feet up and planted them firmly against the palm of the convoy's hand and pulled with his hands. Kyuubi came loose after a few pulls and Naruto succeeded in flipping off the hand, straight towards the beast's open mouth. Fuck. Naruto yelled and brought the sword around, and it collided with the beast's lip, which led to two different things. First, he ripped the lip open, causing the beast to cry out again, and second, it caused him to stop flying forward and instead he began to free fall. Naruto reacted quickly and brought his sword around and plunged it into the giant's chest. He had the blade halfway in and he held on for dear life as the blade ripped the beast open from its neck to its groin. Naruto landed and jumped back just as a large amount of black ink-like material spilled from the beast. Naruto sheathed Kyuubi in one fluid movement and watched as the giant beast exploded into darkness from which it came. Ugly motherfucker. Naruto mumbled as he turned on his heel and began walking away. You're next, Shi. He yelled into the air. Chapter 24, Leaving the Past Behind. Naruto stood before the mountain. The black rock seemed to hold a deep foreboding. On his back was Kyuubi. The sword's blade had a small amount of dried black blood on it due to the fact that it had claimed the lives of many conmoy on the boy's journey here. Naruto's clothes that he had been wearing were long gone, torn apart due to his travels. The only thing he had managed to save from his travel was his black pants, which were torn and frayed on the bottoms but were in good condition, held up by a long blue cloth that had once held the metal Konoha plate. Naruto began to walk forward towards a large staircase that seemed to have been chiseled into the rock crudely. As soon as his foot hit the first step, the world around him became silent. His attention was focused entirely on the last leg of his journey. He slowly moved his next foot up as his eyes slowly wandered upwards, taking in the sight of the many steps that lay before him until he reached the distant temple that Shi would be waiting for him in. Naruto closed his eyes as he heard a low rumble in the distance, and a flash of lightning that seemed out of place lit up the sky. It was with that flash of lightning, the seventh one that Naruto had seen since he had been here, that he knew that today was the final day in his god-forsaken world. If he didn't defeat Shi today, if he didn't make it, if he died, he would be gone forever. Flashback. Naruto walked through the woods. There were no sounds and he had seen not a single enemy for the last few hours. After the first hour of peace he had grown cautious and had drawn Kyuubi and held the demon sword in his right hand, pointing out in front of him so that he could react faster if the moment called for it. As Naruto walked, he listened to the soft crunch his feet made as they took slow steps forward. He had been walking through a forest full of black and gnarled trees, their branches bare, seeming to be stretched into the sky, begging for mercy as they slowly wilted away. Their leaves had fallen to the ground and started to harden and decay. It seemed as though this world was on the verge of dying, a fitting place for the occupant that lived within it. As Naruto listened to the crunching of the leaves beneath his feet, he heard a low crack in the distance and he froze suddenly and looked towards the source of the noise. Had he been in the real world he might have missed that sound, but due to the fact that the world he was in now was silent, deathly still, and void of any true life, he was able to hear things at a greater distance. He stayed still and he heard a steady and dull thump in the sky above him, and his eyes shot up as he tried to find the source of the noise. He let out a calm breath as he slowly slid his right foot back and shifted it sideways while he leaned his weight onto his left foot. He brought Kyuubi up in front of his chest, the silver blade mere centimeters away from his jawbone. Gah! Naruto jumped backwards while slashing downwards just as he felt something collide with the ground in front of him. He landed on his left foot and slowly brought his right foot down behind him to balance himself out while he held Kyuubi down to his right side, pointing at the white soil. Whatever had just crashed into the ground was obscured in a large cloud of white dust that made it impossible for Naruto to see into. The blonde boy waited, anxiously, as the cloud slowly began to settle, and what it left behind made Naruto grimace. Crouching, and glaring at him with entirely yellow eyes, was a new mutation of memories thanks to Shi. The creature before him was not like the first conmoy he had encountered, but instead was a whole new breed of them. Staring down at him was a large snake that easily towered over Naruto, at a startling 15 feet tall. The beast's skin was black while its head was white, its eyes rimmed in purple while its pupil, iris, and eyeball was entirely yellow. On its back were two very large wings that look very leathery and thin. They were beating slowly, sending little clouds of dust floating backwards. The snake had two odd limbs for its arms. The arms themselves were cruelly deformed. A single arm protruded from the snake's body, a few feet lower than the head, and from that arm sprouted 7 hands, each was clawed and was dripping poison. The snake opened its mouth, allowing a tongue to fall out, and it made Naruto shiver in fear. The tongue was no more than a long chain with a large flat piece of metal on the end that also dripped a purple substance that he could only recognize as poison. The snake's teeth were black and long, cruelly twisted around and bent in different directions. This means if I get caught, I won't be able to escape. The blonde thought as the snake darted its head forward without warning. Naruto barely was able to duck under the snake's tongue, which shot forward, and when he straightened up again he brought the kyubi around in an arc and slammed the silver blade down into the tongue/chain. He heard an angry hiss from the snake as its tongue was sent hurtling away from the boy, and the beast quickly retracted the offending appendage before it began to rock back and forth. "Now what is it doing?" Naruto whispered as he watched the snake's cheeks bulge out. Naruto watched curiously as a small line of purple drool seeped from the snake's mouth. Naruto's blue eyes widened as he got a vague idea of what was about to happen. He quickly sheathed kyubi and dived to the side just as the snake reared its head back and shot it forward. A large torrent of purple liquid smashed into the ground on which Naruto had just been standing, and the boy watched in amazed horror as the white ground was stained purple and began to hiss violently, small tendrils of smoke rising from the infected ground. Slowly the ground began to turn into a purple mushy substance, and a sudden thought raced through Naruto's mind. Acid. Flashback _ Naruto had walked up a single flight of stairs and he stopped to look up at the large temple that seemed so distant still. There seemed to be several more rock stair flights that he had to travel until he actually arrived at the temple. The blonde teen closed his eyes as he felt a small pang of despair rise in his chest. There was little time left and he still had yet to scale the large black mountain. Naruto's eyes wandered over into the distance where he saw the black night sky swirling and his fist clenched. Ever since he had made it out of the forest, after defeating the large snake, he had noticed that while the sky was as black as the nothingness it was, there seemed to be a cloud of black that was rolling and seemed darker somehow. Naruto watched as the cloud grew larger, slowly crept closer to him. It had taken him only a couple days to figure out what the cloud was. Flashback. Naruto walked from the forest that only seemed to hold death within its parameters, and as soon as he did he found himself standing in an entirely new environment. Behind him lay trees, lots of dead trees, but in front of him was a vast ocean. The land ended a few feet in front of him and it suddenly went from white dirt to pitch black water that slowly rippled. Naruto was amazed at the sheer impossibility of the environment. The water should be a few inches lower than the earth, but as she had already proved, anything was possible in his realm. Naruto took a step forward towards the water, looking at its black murky surface, looking for some sort of threat, some way to get over the water. He kneeled down and was reaching out with one finger, about to submerge it in the water when he saw the liquid ripple and his bones shake. Naruto turned slowly around as he saw trees fly high into the air, landing in random areas, spearing the ground like javelins. The blonde watched as the wave of flying trees, which started out in the distance, began to draw closer and closer to where he stood. Flashback _ Naruto grimaced as the memory hit him, which was ironic since he was fighting against his own memories as it was. He had already begun his flight up the second set of stairs and returned to his recollection of the past. Flashback. Naruto let out a cry of shock as he dived to the right, narrowly avoiding a very large Zanbato that crashed down onto the ground he was just standing on. The ground shook as though it was rocked like an earthquake, and Naruto slowly got to his feet. He stared at the magnificent beast before him. How the hell did my memories make this? He wondered aloud, his face full of shock. Standing before him was a combination of the first Konmoi he had fought and the weird snake mutation. It had the snake's body, which was now twice the size, and the torso of the Konmoi. In its right hand was the giant Zanbato that the original beasts had carried. The thing that was so grotesque but amazing about the beast were the heads. Sprouting from the middle of the Konmoi's chest was the head of the snake, and it looked angry, its yellow eyes glaring daggers at Naruto for how he had killed it. The Konmoi's head sat atop the torso, completing the entire beast. Better yet, Naruto thought as he dropped to the ground, feeling his body gets pushed to the side by the wind that the giant Zanbato made as it flew over him. How am I going to beat you? He asked the beast. Die, who, man? The thing grunted out and began to viciously assault the poor blonde. Flashback _ Naruto was on the third flight of stairs now, and his pace had slightly increased. He had beaten the beast after what seemed like multiple hours of fighting, and also with a lot of luck. The beast had grabbed a hold of him and brought him up to finish him off, but for some reason, maybe it was Shi's lack of wisdom or just natural animal instincts, the two heads began to roar and hiss at each other. Naruto felt his body jerked around and suddenly the grip on his figure was released and he was sent flying high into the air by the sudden jerking of the beast. As Naruto flipped head over heel, Kyuubi still miraculously in its sheath, he realized that both heads had wanted to kill him but only one could actually do it. As Naruto fell from the sky he had unsheathed Kyuubi and with a loud cry, which the beast didn't hear due to its fighting with itself, Naruto buried his sword deep within the neck of the convoy and his momentum carried him downward, which meant Kyuubi was dragged down with him, effectively ripping a large gaping gash in the back of the beast. Suddenly the beast stopped fighting with itself and instead began jerking wildly as pain racked its body and it began to die. The beast let out a high-pitched scream that consisted of both heads hissing and growling before it fell over twitching. Naruto sighed as he finished the memory and soon they just kept coming, only not in as great as detail as the others. He felt as though that first fight, with what he figured out to be the boss of its realm environment, made him realize the peril of his journey and he became much more serious. It was that fight that made him mature, it was that fight that showed him that he had to push on and win the final battle lest the world fall into chaos at Shi's hand. After he had beaten the boss, a bridge began to rise out of the water. Skulls held high in the air on large poles lined the edges. Day 2. Naruto had traveled across the bridge and had come across no weird creatures until he reached the end of the bridge where he found the bridge to be blocked off by a large gate. Naruto had already figured that he had been too lucky and his thought proved correct when a large serpent erupted from the water and landed heavily on the bridge making the entire thing shake. The serpent or boss was a strange combination of a dragon and a turtle. He couldn't recall ever dealing with a dragon or turtle in his past and he slowly tried to think of something that could have contributed to the beast. The neck was long and had large spikes protruding from it while the head looked like the head of Suieri Udan. Naruto suddenly realized that this was a creature made form one of his jutsu. The neck was connected to the body of a turtle, spiked shell, and large clawed feet with a large tail of whirling water behind it. This fight had taken Naruto a little longer. Day 3. After Naruto had beaten the large dragon/turtle, the gate had crumbled and fell before him and he continued on until he felt the bridge begin to shake and rumble. He turned and found himself staring at the large black cloud and watched as whatever he saw in the distance, mainly bridge and water, was slowly swallowed up by the cloud. He felt his heart pound in his chest as he made the realization. The cloud was his death, his end, Shi's freedom. The distance between him and it represented how much time he had left. Naruto had picked up the pace and ran off the bridge and didn't look back. As he ran, the environment changed and instead of being on water he now stood in the soft white dunes of a desert. Naruto felt a sudden heat push down on him and he moaned in anger, irritation, but most of all his lack of luck in any realm. He immediately realized that he was standing in a desert that was modeled, most likely, off of Suna's Great Desert. He had journeyed through the desert until finally he felt his body ignore his commands and he collapsed. He was hit by a sudden wave of fatigue as blackness slowly overcame his vision and he realized that he was at the danger of any enemies that might have found him. As the thought slowly formed in his mind he forced it away and let the bliss of unconsciousness take him over. He awoke several hours later as a bright white light flashed in front of him, and he saw yet another lightning strike. That was when he finally thought about the lightning representing the number of days that had gone by and that made him, groggily, get to his feet and slowly begin to trudge forward, thankful that he had survived his deep slumber. He traversed the entire desert waiting until he encountered the boss that would undoubtedly be waiting for him. The boss had shown itself later in the day and emerged from the sands, a loud screech making Naruto hiss in agony as he felt his ears vibrating. He was covered in a large amount of sand, sent rolling backwards until he came to a rest, his knees under him and his hands pushing himself up as he coughed out sand. His eyes slowly wandered up and what he saw before him made his heart drop. Crouching in the sand was a very large scorpion with a long tail, but instead of a stinger on the end of it, it had a large metal ball with large spikes all over it. The ball was attached to the scorpion by a chain and the ball was hurtling around, threatening to come down at any second and crush him. Naruto was panting lightly. He felt a sudden urge in his gut telling him to hurry. What had once been a steady climbing pace had now turned into a full-on sprint. He was running up the black rock stairs, taking them two at a time. He felt Kyubi thumping against his back every time his foot came down, but he ignored the small nuisance and focused on getting to the temple. It was closer now. He had been traversing the stairs for a few hours. As he ran, Naruto began to notice something. The stairs, which had once been steep and rather small, were now widening, becoming longer, so he took a couple steps on each step before he got to the next one. On either side of him the rock walls began to rise until they were at the point in which he couldn't look left or right without meeting the same sight. Black walls. Just a little bit longer, Zabuza. Haku-chan. I'll be there in a little bit. Naruto whispered as he slammed his feet down and skidded around a corner, a glare set on his face. He had arrived finally. He now stood on a narrow path. The black walls stretched high into the air, making it so he had to keep going forward. There was no going left or right, only back or forward. Naruto looked at each wall and found that 7 feet from the ground, and also 5 feet between each one, a long torch stretched out, illuminating his path. The path he had to walk was long, but he could see the end of it, the end being a large bridge of flat black rock that stretched over empty air. 2 torches were stuck in the ground near the rock ledge, showing that the entrance, the final leg of the journey, was there. Naruto began walking forward at a slower pace. It would be pointless for him to waste his energy running now. He felt his palms moistening and he realized that his hands were slightly shaking. He clenched his hands into fists, trying to fend off the feeling that was creeping into his veins with every step he took. As he drew closer to the rock bridge that led upwards, he began to break out in a cold sweat. This was his entire life had been leading up to. This was where he would finally begin anew, claim his own life, forge his own path. Naruto closed his eyes and took in a deep breath, attempting to settle his nerves. He slowly let his breath whistle out between his lips and he began a slow prayer, a slow chant, a slow story, a slow plead, his final words before his fate was locked. I've fought countless enemies. I've held back the Kyubi no Kitsune, strongest of all demons. I have traveled to my homelands and seen the wreckage and watched and helped as it was slowly rebuilt. I have learned of my heritage. I am the heir of the Uzumakis. This is the same test that my mother, uncle, grandfather, great-grandfather, and his father took. I will beat Shi, and when I do, I will finally be able to start my true purpose in life. Naruto spoke these words softly, and with every step he took his voice grew louder. He was halfway to the bridge now, and slowly he watched as the temple began to emerge. It was on a different mountain, and the bridge connected the mountain he was on to the other mountain. With the guidance of my ancestors, with the blade of a demon, and with the will of stubborn idiot, I'm going to beat Shi. Naruto spoke these words, yelled them almost as his voice rose and echoed off the walls and reverberated down to the end of the long passage. He was almost there, only 20 feet left to go. I have relied on my own strength for the last 7 days. I have relied on my true strength, not that of jutsus nor chakra. I have beaten the Konmoi boss, the serpent boss, the scorpion boss, the monkey boss, the toad boss, and finally, the fox boss. Shi, you are the final obstacle to my true freedom, you are the thing blocking my identity. Naruto yelled as he slammed his foot down, just before the large bridge. He stared at the temple that loomed up before him, and he felt the dread radiating from it. It was a tall building that truly stuck out in the desolate realm. It was like a traditional Japanese shrine, only it stretched high up into the sky. The top of it almost disappeared in the black sky. But it's time to eliminate that obstacle. Naruto muttered as he walked forward, his first foot on the bridge. Slowly he began his advance. With one step after another he left behind the path that had been created for him long before he had been born. As he continued forward he left behind the years that had led up to this moment. As his feet came to a stop and he stood in the middle of the bridge, he looked back. Behind him lay his past. He had fought his memories. Along the way he had encountered several memories, but in the last environment he had found himself walking through the city of Konoha. The memories there were villagers, those were his enemies. He remembered his tears as he cut through several familiar faces, feeling their blood splash against him. He had to face the glares again. Naruto took a deep breath and looked forward, his eyes closed yet again. But I'm leaving that past, those memories, the path I had followed, everything. I am leaving everything back there. This is where the life of Uzumaki Naruto begins. This is where I begin to claim my title as the ruler of Uzugakure. Naruto screamed as loud as he could, hoping that she heard him. His eyes shot open and his cold, piercing blue irises surrounded his black pupils as he glared forward at the temple and took off at a sprint towards it. XXXXX. A loud rumble echoed throughout the first floor of the temple. It could be said to represent the final tick of a clock, the final ring of a bell, or it could be said to represent a new beginning. Naruto stood in the entrance of the temple, glaring inside at the lone figure who stood in the center of the room staring. Naruto's cold blue eyes met the black, blue pupil-slit eyes of Shi. The demon stared at Naruto with an unreadable look, as though he felt no emotion whatsoever. Slowly the dark angel began to smile, his gleaming white teeth that were all razor-sharp were used in an attempt to unnerve Naruto again. The blonde stared at his counterpart for what seemed like hours. He could hear his own heart beating in his chest, and he knew that no matter what was about to happen, only one of them was walking out of the temple. "You've finally arrived," she whispered, his tone icy and cold yet serious. Naruto continued to glare at him before his lips slowly moved as he responded to the demon. "Looks like it, doesn't it?" She chuckled, a brief exhalation of breath, before his face hardened. He glared at the annoying blonde pest before him. It was his only obstacle to freedom. "Don't sound so tough, Naruto, this is the end. Welcome to the Temple of Unmei. This is where one of our fates is sealed forever." She poked the words slowly, letting each one sink into the blonde's mind. "This is where your fate is sealed," Naruto muttered as he brought his hand up behind him and grabbed the red hilt of Kyuubi and slowly unsheathed it. "I don't have time to converse with you, Shi, I have a time limit," Naruto said, and she nodded once, a quick gesture of acknowledgement. "True," the demon whispered and brought his right hand up. He snapped his thumb and middle finger, and as soon as the sound echoed, Naruto heard a low rumble and he felt the floor beneath him begin to shift. The blonde almost jumped back, but he found nothing to be happening, so he watched as the ordinary floor that had been made of wood shifted to show an entirely white ground. Naruto let his gaze drift up and she continued to stare at him. "What is this? A cheap trick that you plan to fight with?" Naruto asked with disgust, but she shook his head, a clawed finger raised and pointed at a black circle that was 3 feet in diameter and located exactly in the center of the room, directly beneath Shi's feet. "This is your death. This circle has filled this room 6 times now, and after it fills it once more, I win. This is your clock," Shi said and held up his hand in front of him, palm upwards. "Come, we shall fight elsewhere." Naruto felt a sudden pull and then he found himself flying upwards, defying the laws of physics. He slammed into nothing in his journey upwards, and after a few moments he found himself standing somewhere new. He now stood on what seemed to be a roof of some kind, the roof being roughly 20 feet on each side if what Naruto guessed was right. There were low metal gates all along the sides of the roof, caging the 2 combatants who stood in the square, in. "You say you have no time to talk, fine. I dare say that I don't either," Shi said calmly before he held his hand straight out again, his palm pointing towards the black sky. Naruto watched as a streak of black lightning struck down in Shi's palm and lit the entire roof up in a dull glow, forcing Naruto to shield his eyes with his left arm while he held Kyuubi in front of his chest protectively. Naruto looked up and found himself staring at an entirely new person. Shi no longer looked like Naruto, Shi no longer looked scary, Shi looked like he could kill the Kyuubi. The teen, no man, stood on the opposite side of the roof. His new appearance made Naruto slowly lower Kyuubi to the ground. "What are you?" Naruto whispered, and Shi let out a dark laugh while grinning, his mouth open wide. The man no longer had Naruto's spiky hair, face, nothing. He now stood at 6 feet even and had long black hair that flowed down to his shoulders and was thick but also seemed to float in the air. His skin was pale, and under his eyes were red tears drops that made their way down to the corners of his lips, that were pure red. The man's teeth were black and were sharp, his canines were twice as long as any other tooth, and Naruto knew that they were meant for ripping and tearing. The man no longer had wings on his back, but he made up for it with his new arms. The limbs were long, and despite his pale skin, they were black and seemed to be covered in a thick black fur. Shi was slightly hunched over, his arms hanging down his sides, his hands reaching his knees. His fingers were long and grotesque, his nails were longer than they used to be and they were blood red. Other than those abnormalities, the man was normal. If you consider a ridge of horns protruding from around your head normal, if you consider 2 eyes that are purely red with a single black pupil in the center normal, if you consider an eye that is entirely black with a single red slit in it normal. I am the demon within you. The form she you saw, he doesn't truly exist. That was your inner self, your dark side. I couldn't reveal my true form until now, but that is of little consequence, for now you see your true opponent. I am. She. I am, your end. The voice that Naruto heard held a power so ancient, so evil that it made the boy stagger backwards slightly, his heart beating faster. The voice seemed to echo, it sounded as though there was more than one voice speaking. A voice that held deep hatred and reminded Naruto of a snake, a voice that could represent the sound of dying humans screaming for forgiveness, a voice that represented such a deep loathing that only a being of Shi's caliber could obtain it, and finally, a voice that held nothing but loneliness. Zabuza, Haku. Sakura. Jiji. Jiraiya. Tamari. Ino. Tewa. Gaara, please believe in me and give me strength. Naruto thought within his mind. Let's begin, shall we? A voice asked from behind him, and Naruto turned in what would be speeds startling to others, but with a speed that seemed to move slower than an aging bone to the blonde. Behind him stood she. Check the description for the links to the author.